got a slip in your palm and a hole in your chest. Black coffee on the felt, man, you look like a mess. 3-team parlay turned to dust in your hand. Now you stare at the chips like they made you this man. But don't you go quiet, don't you fade from the floor. Your name still means something to somebody for sure. Put the glass down, baby. Look at me now. Hold on, hold on. Not tonight, not now. Hold on. Let me pull you out. That bad luck bites hard, but it don't get the crown.
What's up, everybody? It's Toad back with you with Toadstool Sports Friday, June 26th. We went 2-1-1 on the show yesterday. World Cup was awesome. We're 5-1 in the World Cup now. Toronto, I added a winner with the World Cup. Like, I added 2 plays during the show. I was going to have just 2 plays on the day, and it wound up hurting me very, very slightly because I would have gone 1-0-1. And that is a little bit better than 2-1-1 because when you go 1-1, it's a slight loss. But, yeah, I added the Toronto play. Gaussman was really bad. Again, I don't know what that was. He gave up 6 runs, I'm pretty sure. And they were losing 6-0, maybe even through the first 5. And then Toronto still almost came back and won the game, losing 6-5. I got nothing about that game right. The Mets just could not put up any offense. That game was 0-0 at the end of 5. The Mets then gave up 3 runs in the 6th inning, then got 2 right back. Then they tied the game late, and then they still lost in extra innings. So if I gave you the full game, it would have been a loser. So the first 5 was at least the better option, I guess, because it was a draw. Well, I'm focusing on soccer too much now. Push. And then both soccer plays won. Ecuador with the outright win. That was a good play, I think. The game was, Germany, I think, did outplay Ecuador by a little bit if you look at the stats, but it wasn't that crazy. And Ecuador, the team that needed the game more, they got it done with the win there. So I'm happy about that. And then I also got the Turkey-U.S. game right with Turkey, although the U.S. kind of dominated the game statistically. It was a little bit lopsided statistically, but again, the more motivated team does sort of have a tendency to get like better chances there. And after the U.S. scored like almost immediately in that game, and then Turkey put up 2 goals, took the lead, gave the lead away early in the second half. U.S. tied it, and then it looked like it was going to be a draw at the end, which also would have been a winner on that play. But Turkey scored They scored a goal to actually win with, I don't know, like 7 minutes into stoppage time. I think there was like 1 minute to go in stoppage time. Whatever. So it was a fine day, though, I guess. Garrett, what's up? Thanks for hanging out. I'm not good. I'm never good. Dirty Sock, what's up? That was the only one you tailed. You should tail my soccer plays then, even though I know nothing about soccer. 5-1 in the World Cup so far. Landed in time to play Turkey. All right. I would not have played them on the money line. Like I said, that game was so close to being a draw, and statistically they kind of lost the game. Dude, like, I'm giving you the plays here. I told you to just play the spread or play win and draw. I'm not saying take the money line at like +2, plus 200 something. Yes, it was a push. The Mets one, yeah. Well, yeah, you're obviously going to lose a bunch, yeah. Yeah, World Cup, I don't know what I'm talking about, but I guess my opinions have been all right. The over, I was wrong about I wasn't sure that there was going to be that much scoring in that game, but yeah, the over definitely was correct in that one. decent amount of offense from both teams there. Which it does kind of make, you know what, now that I think about it, it kind of makes sense actually, because neither team had anything to play for. The U.S. had already advanced. Turkey was already eliminated. So I'm kind of an idiot for not thinking about that, because usually when the game doesn't matter, the defense is a little bit less intense. So, yeah, it does kind of make sense in that way that there would be more scoring in a game like that, because it almost becomes more like a scrimmage. All right, let's get into baseball. I do not want this show to be that long, although it is going to be, because we have a full baseball slate here. Cincinnati at Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh played yesterday. They beat Seattle to win that series yesterday. Pittsburgh is staying at home. Cincinnati had yesterday off, though. So Cincinnati has a rest advantage here, but they are traveling in, I think only from Cincinnati, though, so very short travel leg here for them. Cincinnati could be in a bounce-back spot as well, because they got swept by Milwaukee in their last series, so they may try to bounce back from that. Pittsburgh is the better overall team here, though. Pittsburgh used a lot of their relief pitchers yesterday. They used 4. And we have a rested bullpen on the other side with Cincinnati, although their bullpen stinks. They're 28th in bullpen. They're not quite that bad, but they're still pretty bad. Pittsburgh is 20th. This is arranged by WHIP. We're looking at a couple of bullpens that you probably want to avoid. Pittsburgh is number 3 in offense, which is good, and they're really good at home on offense. Cincinnati, 24th. They have really been struggling. They did get De La Cruz back, though. I think the last day that I mentioned him, he actually had come back, I think, the night before that. So I think he is back. Andrew Abbott is pitching for Cincinnati. He is okay. His whip is pretty bad right now, though, and I don't know what's going on with him, because he's been better than this in his career, although he is kind of a pitch-to-contact type of guy, which isn't that good. But 3.83 ERA is pretty good. 1.42 whip, though. Again, that is too high. He's been walking too many guys. He is better on the road, 2.93 road ERA. Did pitch against Pittsburgh early in the season at home and wasn't great. 4 runs allowed in 5 2/3 innings, not great. Took a loss in that one, I believe. Yeah, he did. So that wasn't too good. He's pitching somewhat better here this month with a low ERA, but his walk rate has been way too high. Multiple walks in every start. You can't do that, man. Even though he does have a fairly low hit rate here, his strikeout rate is not high, but he's not a strikeout pitcher. Walk rate is too high right now, so he's got to do something about that. That's really his huge issue here, is the walks. His numbers against Pittsburgh, though, overall are actually not bad. I looked this morning. Of course, I can't click on anything correctly. He's held them to a 213 average, a 615 OPS, and 47 at-bats. And that includes that one start this year that he had that wasn't good. 11 strikeouts, 4 walks. He may be able to pitch okay here. I don't know if I'd want to bank on it, though, going up against this Pittsburgh offense in Pittsburgh. And he is going to be opposed by Paul Skeens, who obviously is the better pitcher here. But if you want Pittsburgh, you're paying a huge price for it. Skeens, 2.86 ERA, 0.93 whip. He's in the Cy Young discussion, obviously, although he's going to have to do some work to overtake Mierzowski at this point, and Sanchez, actually, and maybe Ohtani. Skeens, 2.61 home ERA. He is better at home. He's been pretty good in his recent starts here. He's been good this month. However, Pittsburgh has lost his last 7 starts. I mean, it's insane to think that, especially his last 4. He's allowed 2 or fewer earned runs in all of them, and his team has lost every single one of them. Like, what the hell is going on here? They gave him no run support in the last 2, and the 2 games prior to that, the bullpen absolutely imploded after he was out of the game. So he is not getting helped by his teammates here. He's got a low hit rate, low walk rate, high strikeout rate, everything good. Numbers against Cincinnati, those are going to be good as well. Very few teams do a ton of damage against him. 217 average, 515 OPS, 8 ridiculous 30-2 strikeout walk ratio, and 69 at-bats. Almost half the at-bats have resulted in strikeouts and almost no walks there. So pretty dominant stuff there from Skeens. I'm not going to want to fade Pittsburgh here. I know that they're at the rest disadvantage. The money is backing Cincinnati here. 82% of the tickets on Pittsburgh, 63% of the cash on Cincinnati. And the reason for the money coming in on Cincinnati is the price. Minus 210 is basically where it is on Pittsburgh. Yeah, I mean, I don't think I would want to lay that price. Even if you do think Pittsburgh has the edge, that's a little bit crazy to have that price on them there. The money's also backing the under pretty strong in that game with a low total, 7.5, which, you know, it is a Skeens game. If you're going to go under here, I think you should make it a first 5-inning play, but 3.5 is kind of pushing it there, and you don't really know how good Abbott is going to be or how not good he might be, but you do get the better of his home road split there. Both pitchers do have good matchup numbers, so first 5 under makes some sense. All right, next game up is going to be a play for me. Houston, Detroit. I'm going to give out the over 8.5 here. You're going to look at the starting pitchers and think, oh, this is going to be a good pitching matchup here. I'm going to disagree on that, obviously. We also do have the bullpens going for us here, where I don't think these bullpens are that good. Detroit used 3 relief pitchers yesterday. Houston used 2, so both teams did play. They played each other yesterday, in fact. So I think that actually helps the offenses. And yesterday's game was a 2-1 Detroit win with Imai and Melton. Both actually pitched well, it looks like, in the game yesterday. I think we're going to see a much higher scoring game here. People are not going to think that. It looked like yesterday's game might have been somewhat more of an over-ish game, although I kind of like Detroit in that game yesterday a little bit. But, yeah, both pitchers were surprisingly good, I guess, although Melton has been better than Imai. But this game, I think we have 2 pitchers that are overrated here in this game. Plus, we're going to fade the bullpens, who, again, are not really that good. Detroit is ranked 16th now. They're all right, but I think you can still fade this bullpen. And, you know, I go over. I rarely am going to have an over first 5 play. I don't even know if I've ever done it, to be honest, because I think if the starting pitchers don't do well, it just cascades into the bullpen. So, yeah, and then Houston, their bullpen has been better recently, but they're 19th, and their bullpen ERA is still really ugly and worse than all these teams around them here. So I think these bullpens are still fadeable. Houston's got a pretty good offense still, although they've dropped a little bit. They're 13th. I know Detroit's hasn't been that good. They're 21st, but they do better at home. Detroit does, and I think they have a pretty good matchup here against Spencer Arrighetti. But you're going to think, well, why? Why would I want to fade him? He's got a 3.13 ERA, 1.2 whip. Yeah, but what were his numbers before his last start? His numbers looked quite good. I think he had an ERA below 2 for a while, and his whip was way better than this too. He's starting to struggle, man. I know he's better on the road, 2.76 road ERA. I don't care. I don't think he's that good, man. I mean, I know he had 8 strikeouts, no walks in his last outing. So he was actually in command in his last outing. And actually, his command has been good this month, 25-6 strikeout walk ratio. So, yeah, I mean, usually I don't want to fade pitchers that have good command because I think that if they have a bad ERA, like he has an ERA of almost 7 this month, which is obviously really bad. And if I see command numbers like this, I think, well, that ERA is misleading because his command has been good. Yeah, it has, but he's also allowed more hits than innings pitched this month. And the fact that he gave up 6 runs to Cleveland last time out, that is still not good, dude. That is a really bad offense. So I don't think he's in great form right now. I expected him to regress a bit. And it is really weird because his walk number has gone down, but he's become more hittable at the same time. And his problem, up until this month, his problem easily was the walks. His walks have been awful for most of the season, although he was pretty unhittable. Now the reverse has happened, so it's like he can't figure it out. It's either one or the other. Either his command is terrible or he's too hittable. So he's either missing too far off the plate or he's getting too much of the plate with his pitches, and he can't find that, like, sweet spot there. You know what I mean? He's got a decent strikeout rate. His hit rate is low. His walk rate is too high. But the key really here is the matchup here. His numbers against Detroit are abysmal, although it's only 18 at-bats, but most of their hitters have faced him. They have absolutely demolished this guy. 556 batting average, 2263 OPS, 4 strikeouts, 5 walks. I know it's a really small sample size. Like, this is unsustainably bad stuff here, but this is ridiculous. He's allowed 5 home runs and 18 at-bats to them, and 8 extra base hits. This is just crazy stuff. Riley Green, 3 home runs, 3 for 5 off him. If you want to go with like a player prop there, hits plus runs plus RBIs, I think Arrigetti's going to give up some runs here, man. That's what I think. And then we're also going to fade Keter Montero, even though I think he's not that bad. His numbers do look pretty good. 3.6 ERA, 3.68, excuse me. 1 whip. He's a little bit worse at home, 3.75 ERA. He was good in his last start against the White Sox, and that's a good sign. The White Sox are a good offense. His last 2 full starts have been good, but he had a really weird, I think, bullpen outing. I don't know what happened in that outing against Houston, but it wasn't good in between the two. But I don't think Montero's as good as his numbers look. I know that I've had positive things to say about him. He does have a low hit rate. His walk rate is actually low as well. His strikeout rate is really low. He pitches to contact, so he is a guy that the advanced analytics guys will not like because they like strikeouts. I mean, I like strikeouts too, although when I see a low whip, I think there is something to that still. Like, well, this guy's not putting guys on base, but the pitching to contact a lot of times does regress because a lot of it relies on where those balls in play are going. And balls in play are always dangerous. That sounds wrong. But also the key is his numbers against Houston are bad. I know we have a small sample here, 14 at-bats. But again, basically their entire lineup has faced him. 429 average, 1,071 OPS, 2 strikeouts, no walks. So I'm going to go over in this game here. It feels like there are a lot of over games today. The money is agreeing with me on this, it looks like. This total is up a little bit to 9. I still think you can find an 8.5, but it's because of me, man. I'm moving the line myself. I just have that much weight. The money is coming in here, man. I would still go over 9, but this total is shooting up. I still think you can find an 8.5, though, I hope. I mean, literally every book had 8.5 at -110 when I looked 20 minutes ago, probably. Let me look right now. Yeah, I mean, you have to pay a little bit more for the 8.5. Most books are at 9 now. I would still do that though. I know you're going right on that key number now. 8.5 is a lot better than 9, but yeah, I mean, you can get 9 at like even money. I mean, that's still, I think, all right. And if it hits 9, you'll push. But yeah, I would still go over the 9. 56% of tickets, 93% of the cash on the over. I like to see that, though, that, my initial thought jumping in on this number, and then you get the better of the number, and the number is moving in that same direction. That kind of confirms that my thinking is in line with, like, sort of where the money is here. So I like seeing that. Mr. Pinsy, what's up? Thanks for hanging out. Although I apologize. I mean, you have to be in my head to, like, get some of these better numbers. You know what I mean? Because some of these things are going to move depending on when I do the show and whatever. Washington and Baltimore. This game looks like an over to me, too. I almost gave out the over in this game, too. There seemed like a lot of overs today. Baltimore is returning home from a road trip, though, and that is one of my concerns with going over here. They had a long road trip out to the Pacific Coast to Seattle, LA, Anaheim, and now they're finally returning home. They were off yesterday, of course, to have that cross-country trip, but still, this is a very negative spot for Baltimore, having to return cross-country, readjust to the time zone. You can get distracted when you come back home. I don't know if they're necessarily going to overlook Washington, who is their geographic rival in the D.C. area, but I still don't know, man. This is still a very negative spot, returning home from a long road trip. I think they have the longest road trip return spot today. I think there might be 2 teams doing that today, but that is a negative, so I'll look to fade that team usually upon the return home. But my worry about the over is that return home and the day off affects the hitting. You know what I mean? Like, it can cool off the hitting, so that would worry me a little bit about going over here. I would have some concerns about Baltimore's offense. Washington, they played yesterday. They lost again to Philadelphia yesterday, but they have a better travel spot because they're only coming in from Washington to Baltimore, so they could drive that. in like a couple hours or whatever. So, or maybe less than that, right? I don't even know. Everything is close there. I've done it before, but I don't even remember how long it took. Yeah, so Washington is in the better spot, even though they're not rested here. Washington did use 2 relief pitchers yesterday. Both bullpens are bad. Washington is 26th in bullpen. They're one of the 4 bullpens with an ERA of over 5 right now. That is pretty bad. Baltimore 18th. They're not a great bullpen either. So that does help if you like the over. The bullpens are not good. The offenses are pretty decent. Washington is tied in 4th with the A's. Orioles 16th in offense, arranged by OPS. Not too bad. Washington is going with Andrew Alvarez here. I don't think he's that bad, though. He's still kind of young, and they've had him in the bullpen for a while. They've made him a starter. He's got a 3.34 ERA, pretty good. 1.39 whip is not very good, though. So he is putting too many guys on base, but he's been good on the road. 2.89 road ERA. He's been pretty good recently, but they're limiting his pitches here, which makes sense, kind of. Like, they don't want to overwork this guy, but they're letting him go, like, exactly 4 innings in every outing. But his last 2 have both been good. He's allowed 1 run in each of them with an 11-1 strikeout walk ratio there. So he is actually pitching okay right now. It's just he's not really going to go that deep into the game. And then you're going to get Washington's bullpen for a long time in this game. So that does make it look overish as well. For Alvarez, his hit rate's a little bit high. Good strikeout rate, high strikeout rate. His walk rate is not great, though. I mean, it looks low, but he has a low amount of innings pitched, so that's not that good. Numbers against Baltimore, they have actually faced him 12 at-bats. They have a 4.17 average against him, 962 OPS, 4-1 strikeout walk ratio. So Alvarez has struggled against Baltimore specifically, so that does help the case for the over here. Trevor Rogers is pitching for Baltimore. This guy is like all over the place, dude. Like most of his career wasn't that good. He inexplicably had a really good season last year for Baltimore. This season has been mostly awful, but he's been actually good this month, though. So he's just really hard to predict. His overall numbers don't look good. 5.3 ERA, 1.36 whip, 5.52 home ERA, not good. But again, this month he's been considerably better. 2.22 ERA this month. He's allowed 3 or fewer earned runs in every outing. Gone at least 5 2/3 in every outing. Fewer than 1 hit per inning by quite a bit here. Low strikeout rate, though. But, I mean, he did shut out the Dodgers. He had a 1-hit shutout against the Dodgers for 7 innings last time out on the road. Although maybe he'll be in a letdown spot after that. But I don't know, man. I mean, that is a sign that maybe he is coming into some sort of form here. So he is in better form right now, but his other 3 starts this month were against San Diego, Seattle, and Boston, and those are not elite offenses. His overall numbers, his hit rate is still too high. His walk rate is still pretty high. Strikeout rate really low. He's just not really fooling guys. Do we trust him in this matchup? I would lean towards no. Washington's offense is really good on the road. He's not good against Washington in 42 at-bats, 357 average, 937 OPS. These guys are going to be familiar with him because he was on Miami, so he was in their division not too long ago. And then they face each other every year here, too, as rivals, Baltimore and Washington. He's got a 3.3 strikeout walk ratio against them as well. So I think the over is correct in this game. I have a few issues with it, like Rogers pitching better recently. I don't necessarily dislike Alvarez really either, but the money seems to agree with me here. 52% of tickets, 81% of the cash on the over. Total is at 9. Kind of a high total. It makes sense, though. I mean, I think that game is an over, so you could do what you want with that. But, yeah, it looks overish to me. The game that I did give out the over looks like less of an over, which kind of makes me like it a little bit more. Oh, and by the way, Detroit is getting the money. I forgot to mention the side. 51% of tickets, 57% of the cash on Detroit at like minus 118. I don't really have a good feel for the side in that Houston-Detroit game, though. As far as the side in Washington-Baltimore, Baltimore's getting the money. 61% of tickets, 78% of the cash on them at minus 140 or so. I don't think I would do that. I mean, their return home spot across country is really, really bad. So if anything, I think I would lean to Washington slightly there. Probably would take the bullpen out, though. I think Washington first 5 might make some sense there, but I don't necessarily want to fade Rogers in that spot either. So, but still, I think the over is the much better way to look at that game, though, even though I just said I don't necessarily want to fade that starter. The over makes more sense to me than anything else in that game. Texas at Toronto. These teams played each other yesterday. Toronto lost 6-5. We know because I gave that out as a play. Not happy. Toronto used one relief pitcher yesterday. It was Simeon Woods Richardson. He is no longer on Minnesota. He is in Toronto's bullpen now. Minnesota might have just cut him. I have no idea. Maybe it was a trade. I have no clue. Texas does have the better bullpen here. Although Texas used 2 guys out of the bullpen. That's still not bad, though. But they did have to save the game. So they did use their best 2 relief pitchers, basically. Texas, number 8 in bullpen. They're pretty good. Toronto, number 13. Texas is the better bullpen here, even despite the usage yesterday. Neither offense has been that good. Texas, 20th. Toronto, 23rd. Nathan Eovaldi pitching for Texas. On the surface, this looks like a huge pitching edge for Texas, but I actually am going to disagree that that's actually the case. And maybe that's crazy because just for me, I like Eovaldi way better than Corbin. But if you look at the matchup numbers, it almost seems to indicate the complete opposite. Eovaldi doesn't have a great ERA this year, 4.24, but his whip is good, 1.18. He's better than his ERA suggests. He's a little bit better on the road, which makes no sense. I don't know why he hasn't been that good at home. But 4.11 road ERA. Usually every Texas pitcher is going to be better at home. Eovaldi is still pitching pretty well, though. He's got a high strikeout rate this month, a low walk rate. His hit rate's a little bit high, though. And that's kind of been the issue. The issue has really been the home runs, though. His hit rate on the season is not that bad. His walk rate's pretty low. Strikeout rate is relatively high. I think he's just gotten kind of unlucky because he's not even a fly ball pitcher, but he's somehow allowed 17 home runs this year already. I just don't know how that's even the case. So I think Eovaldi is better than he looks here. He had really good numbers last year, so I think the reality lies somewhere in the middle there between those two. But Eovaldi against Toronto, as I was pointing out, he has bad matchup numbers. They have a lot of experience against him because Eovaldi has been in their division for a decent amount of time. He was on the Red Sox for a while. 119 at bats, 25 strikeouts, 8 walks. That's not bad, but 319 batting average, 892 OPS. Those are not good numbers there. So Eovaldi does not match up well against Toronto. Patrick Corbin is going for Toronto, and you know me on the show. I'm not a fan of him, and rightfully so. 4.73 ERA, 1.53 whip is really bad. He's really bad at home, 5.96 home ERA. He's not in good form right now either. He hasn't even made it 4 innings in his last 3 starts in any of them. At home against Philly, at home against the Yankees, and on the road against the Cubs. Now, Yankees and the Cubs, those are some pretty good offenses right there. But Corbin's still been awful recently. 11-9 strikeout walk ratio this month. 23 hits allowed in 15 1/3 innings. 15 1/3. Granted, yes, he's faced mostly pretty good offenses here. Atlanta was one of them as well. Overall numbers, bad. High hit rate, high walk rate, low strikeout rate. There's nothing to like about these numbers here. The only thing that you can like here, though, is, well, really there are 2 things here. He's good against Texas. They have 133 at-bats against him, 241 average, 599 OPS, 34-8 strikeout walk ratio. So Corbin has actually been good against Texas's lineup. And the other reason why Corbin might be the way to look in this game is he's facing his former team for the first time. He was on Texas last year, and Texas let him go after that. I mean, he's not a great pitcher, but the thing is, when a pitcher faces the team that most recently got rid of them for the first time, a lot of times they step up their game and want to prove that that team was wrong for getting rid of them. So Corbin might step up his game a little bit here, and he has the better matchup numbers. So I actually lean Toronto here. The money is not agreeing with me. 54% of tickets, 61% of the cash on Texas. Texas is at minus 112 here or so. But I just showed you the matchup numbers. I mean, Corbin is really tough to back. I know. I don't really want to do it. He just sucks. He sucks at home. But this specific matchup, and the situation kind of puts me there. Not going to be on my card or anything, but Toronto first 5 would be the way I would play this game. Money line, Toronto first 5. I would avoid their bullpen, though, because Texas does still have the better bullpen. Money is backing the over in that game, too, for whatever that's worth. Arizona at Tampa Bay. I am not getting through these games fast, man. This is bad. Tampa Bay beat Kansas City yesterday to even that series after losing the first 2. They demolished Kansas City yesterday. Both teams actually played yesterday, I believe. Arizona was a rain out. That's right. So Arizona was going to have to travel after playing St. Louis yesterday in St. Louis, but they got a little bit of a break because they actually didn't have to play yesterday. They're still traveling from St. Louis, but Arizona does have a day off now here, which should help their bullpen a little bit. Tampa Bay used 2 guys out of the bullpen yesterday. Arizona's ranked 9th in bullpen, but I still don't think they're that good. Their ERA is not that good. Tampa, 14th, but they're also overrated there, too. Their ERA indicates, not really good things about their bullpen. I think Arizona's bullpen is the better one and more rested here, but I don't love either bullpen at all. Tampa Bay has the better offense at 15th. Arizona, 26th. Not great. This starting pitching matchup, Zach Gallen is pitching for Arizona. He was going to pitch yesterday, so they had a rain out, and he's just going to pitch, today because he was the next guy up. He's been awful, though. 6.1 ERA, 1.63 whip. Really, really bad. Really bad on the road. 6.98 road ERA. He was awful in his last start at home against Minnesota. This is not good. His strikeout walk ratio this month is 10-7 in 20 to third innings on top of 36 hits allowed. That is really, really bad. Really high hit rate, high walk rate, low strikeout rate. And that's been the case for him all season. All of those things apply to him on the entire season. There's nothing to really like about any of these numbers. I don't know what has happened to him because he used to be a decent pitcher. I don't know what the deal is here. Going up against Tampa Bay here, he actually has decent numbers against them in 23 at-bats. It's not a huge sample. They don't have any extra base hits off him. 261 average, 581 OPS, 4-2 strikeout walk ratio. Gallen actually has good numbers against them. So the matchup is actually okay for him, but the rest of his numbers, there's nothing to like there otherwise. So I don't know. If he's that matchup dependent, maybe he could do okay here. Nick Martinez is pitching for the Rays. He's obviously been the better of the pitchers here, but maybe that's going to have the public too heavily on Tampa here. 2.73 ERA, 1.16 whip. That's good. Not as good at home, 3.21 home ERA. He's pitching well generally. He's allowed more than 3 earned runs once this entire season. You look at his numbers, fairly low hit rate, low walk rate. That's all good. He doesn't put guys on base. Also doesn't strike guys out, though. So he's another guy that's a contact pitcher here. But still, he's effective at it. He's only had 1 bad start here. His numbers against Arizona are actually not good, though. They saw him when he was in the National League. They have 52 at-bats against him, 288 average, 916 OPS, 6-4 strikeout walk ratio. Maybe Martinez, doesn't do as well here. Like, it just looks like it's not the greatest matchup for him here. Arizona, with the better of the matchup numbers at least, and with a day off, Tampa Bay might look too good right now. I still don't think Tampa Bay is as good as their record looks. I might lean Arizona here slightly. It looks like the money does agree with that. Tampa Bay minus 130 something here on the money line. 80% of the tickets, 77% of the cash on Tampa. So the money is actually fading a public Tampa side there, it looks like. I agree with it. I think I would just look Arizona money line there. That is not on my card, though. But, almost nothing is on my card. I have one more play, and it's going to be another one of those plays where I think people are just not going to want to make that play at all. And the money doesn't even agree with my play. But it's also going to be a first 5 play, though. So that's really hard to gauge, but I'm going to give that out later in the show. Yankees and Red Sox. My Red Sox on ESPN Unlimited here. Red Sox got the win yesterday. Pretty surprised because it was a return home spot. Bad spot. Plus, they had to go up against Schlittler, and Red Sox broke a tie with a Durbin home run, and the Red Sox bullpen held for once. There you go. Red Sox with a 6-3 win. And the Red Sox actually have a better pitching matchup in today's game. Of course, I mean, anything is better than facing Schlittler, but this is one of the better pitching matchups the Red Sox are going to get against the Yankees, although that probably means the Red Sox are going to lose. But this pitching matchup does look a lot better than yesterday's. Red Sox used 4 relief pitchers yesterday. Yankees also did. Both bullpens have been good. The Red Sox slightly better at 5th, Yankees 7th. We have 2 good bullpens here, though. Yankees are the way better offense. They're number 2. The Red Sox are 25th right now. Not good, and they have not been good at home most of the season. Maybe the Red Sox can get some offense here against Will Warren, although his ERA is good, 3.45, but his whip is not really that good, 1.33. So that does indicate that his ERA should be higher than it is. Warren looked really good for the first couple months this season, but he's trailed off a little bit or tailed off, whatever. He is still better on the road right now, 2.97, but I don't know what to make of that because he was not good on the road last year, so last year was a bigger sample size to look at. Warren's been struggling a bit this month, and he has not really faced good offenses. He failed to make it 5 innings against Cleveland and Toronto. His 2 road starts this month were both bad. Had a 6-5 strikeout walk ratio in those 2 outings, too. That is not good. He's been a lot more hittable this month as well. He wasn't really that good against Cincinnati last time out either at home. Although in that one, the defense behind him failed completely. Like 4 unearned runs scored against him in that one. So it wasn't as bad as it looked. And he did have a lot of strikeouts there. But he's been bad recently on the road. So he doesn't seem to be in the greatest form right now. His overall numbers, though, still don't look that bad. His hit rate is all right. It's like right in line with 1 per inning. You'd like to see it a little bit lower than that, though. His walk rate is not horrible, and his strikeout rate is still high. So overall, he's still all right. But he's pitching worse right now for the most part, and his numbers against the Red Sox are not that good. Although they only have 6 hitters who have faced him, 27 at bats, 333 batting average, 1128 OPS, 4-3 strikeout walk ratio. So the Red Sox have hit him pretty well. So maybe the Red Sox will be able to score a little bit in this game. The Red Sox still, though, I mean, they got some offensive injuries, too, which nobody really talks about because their offense has been bad all season anyway, but Roman Anthony's been out for a while. I don't know when he's even coming back, if he is, which is a huge blow because he's one of their most talented young hitters, and he's like never been healthy since they've called him up last year or whatever. Kiner Falefa went down not too long ago as well, so I don't know. Red Sox are going with Peyton Tolley on the mound here. I tweeted about him 2 days ago or yesterday, which I was a little bit late to the party, but I guess a couple of weeks ago he had an interview where he talked about one of his greatest life achievements being succeeding against the I think it's called the Big Texan. It's a 72-ounce steak challenge in Amarillo, Texas, and he had failed it the first time. But in his interview, he was talking about how one of his greatest achievements was trying it a second time and finishing it. And it's like a 72-ounce steak plus a bunch of sides and like a baked potato. And I don't know, I think you have to consume a drink as well with it, whatever it is. I love that, though. Like, I've done some competitive eating as well. And the way that he said it, he was like, yeah, this big body needs to eat a lot of food. I'm like, yeah, this guy is the man. He's like my favorite Red Sox player at this point. He's been good, too. 3.08 ERA, 1.09 whip. Pretty good stuff here. He's got a 2.76 home ERA, so he's been better at home. He's been all right recently. His numbers have been a little bit worse in his recent starts. A couple of them came on the road, although one was at Seattle, but he wasn't exactly bad in any of those starts. Overall numbers, low hit rate, low walk rate, strikeout rate a little bit low for a guy like him where he throws upper 90s, so you'd like to see that strikeout rate be a little bit higher. He did face the Yankees once early in the season. It was his first start of the season. He really pitched well in that outing, which was here in Fenway, but that might mean he won't do as well here, though, right? Because the Yankees might be able to make some adjustments off of that. But he's been good against the Yankees, although it was mostly just that one start. They have 5 hitters right now in their current lineup who have faced him. But, of course, Judge was in the lineup back then, and he's not now. He's got 12 at-bats against them, 250 average, 750 OPS, 1 home run in there from Jazz Chisholm, the lollipop guy. I don't know if you guys were aware of that. Jazz Chisholm was like eating a lollipop, sucking a lollipop while he was out on the field. And, Aaron Boone basically just said, like, as long as he's, like, hitting a home run to win us the game, I don't care. He can have all the lollipops he wants. I'm like, this thing it's so stupid, dude. I don't know why people care that much, although I think it's stupid to have a lollipop out there because you might choke on it if you're trying to make, like, a fielding play or something. But in a way, it kind of reminds me of, like, Red Sox antics. Like, this is why, another reason to like the Red Sox, though, over the Yankees, although the Yankees are trying to change now where they're allowing, like, beards now because of Devin Williams, who was terrible for them last year, and now he's not even on the team. Ridiculous. But they're allowing, antics like lollipops and stuff. But, the Yankees have always had this, like, uptight aspect to them where they don't allow the facial hair. They have to look professional, all this shit. And this is why I loved the Red Sox, because part of the reason why, I know I'm from Boston, but the Red Sox were the complete opposite of that. The idiots in 2004, or whatever, where you got pine tar all over your helmet, you got massive beards, baggy uniforms. Manny Ramirez would be just doing stupid shit out on the field. Like, I remember Ramirez would, like, walk into because he played left field a lot. He would literally go into the monster during a game to take a piss and then come back onto the field. I'm like, I hope nobody hits it out to left field while he's in the fucking monster taking a leak. And then he'd do other, like, I don't know. I remember one time he slid to make a catch in left field and he had a huge bottle of water in his pocket and he landed on it and it exploded. I'm like, this is, like, so ridiculous. Jazz Chisholm will never be that fun, though. But anyway, I don't want this show to be that long. Chisholm does have a home run off Tolley, but Tolley's other numbers are pretty good here. The Yankees might adjust a little bit, but I don't know. I'm going to lean slightly towards the Red Sox here. They are getting the money, and the Yankees are favored at like minus 115 here. But the Red Sox seem to have the starting pitching edge here in this game, in this matchup, and I think they have a slight bullpen advantage. Yes, the Yankees have the way better offense. Yes, the Yankees are the better team, so maybe you do have to still line them as a favorite here. But given this specific matchup, Red Sox is a slight dog, maybe makes sense here. Although, of course, that means they're going to lose this game. They have the better matchup here, they'll lose. They had the worst matchup last night, and they won. 61% of tickets on the Yankees, 69% of the cash on Boston. And now I'm more upset that I was not able to take up, was it Kyle in the chat yesterday who had the extra Red Sox ticket? I'm mad that I was not able to take him up on that offer because that would have been a good game to go to. A win over the Yankees, man. A win over Schlittler. Anyway, yeah, this show's going really long here. Philadelphia and the Mets. We lost on the Mets. Or no, we did not. We had a push, first 5. The Mets fired their manager, though. You know what I always say about this? So Mendoza is out. When it's like the fired coach phenomenon. This is one thing that I talk about on the show. It's a situational angle. In basically any sport, when a team fires their coach or manager, I like to play on that team in that first game because I think it gives the team a spark. Because basically, there are two things that could happen here. Either the team didn't like that coach or manager and they're going to respond and play better after that because they get to play for a new guy and maybe they like that guy. I don't know who the Mets interim manager is. I assume it's probably going to be somebody that was already on the coaching staff, though. It usually is. Although in the Red Sox case, they called up their AAA manager, which also made sense, though, because the Red Sox have a bunch of young guys that played for him. Don't know what the Mets are doing, but it could be that, or the other thing is the players want to prove that they're not the problem and that the coach or manager is the problem. So the Mets might be a little bit fired up. They're coming off an ugly home sweep at the hands of the Cubs. So situationally, this looks like a good spot to maybe look towards the Mets here to have some sort of spark after they fired their manager. And the Mets, we know they have more talent on this roster than what they've shown so far. Soto might still be hurt, though. I don't know. Soto's been hurt recently again. I don't know. But this Mets roster still has way more talent than what their record would indicate. Same with the Red Sox, by the way. Two big market teams here. That's where the good stuff ends, though, for the Mets here, because if you want to play the Mets, you're going to have to fade Zach Wheeler for Philadelphia here, so I do not want to do that. Although, I'm going to show you the matchup numbers in a minute, and there might still be an argument for doing it. Philadelphia did play yesterday. They played at home, and they did use 4 relief pitchers yesterday. The Mets, though, their bullpen is at a disadvantage, kind of, because they used a ton of guys over the last 2 days. Because remember, Wednesday, the Mets had to play a doubleheader. So the Mets have played 3 games in the last 2 days. So that is not good. They have not had a break. And they used 4 relief pitchers yesterday. Yesterday. The same thing is going to apply to the Cubs when I talk about them later. The Mets are number 2 in bullpen still, though. Philadelphia, number 11. So the Mets do still have the better bullpen. I'm probably still going to give them a bullpen edge here, but it's less strong because of all the bullpen usage they've had in the last couple days, so I don't love that. Philadelphia is 21st in offense, tied with Detroit, which is not good, but the Mets are 29th. We know their offense has really, really struggled. So again, even though the situation looks good for the Mets as far as the fired coach phenomenon here, they're the less rested team here. That doesn't look good. The bounce back spot looks good, but the Mets are at a disadvantage everywhere else here in this matchup. They have the worst starting pitcher who is undecided. They have the bullpen. They do have the better bullpen, but in this matchup, it looks like they kind of even out because of the rest. And then the Mets have the worst offense here too. Zach Wheeler is pitching for Philadelphia. Like I said, he's not really a guy that I want to fade. 2.11 ERA, 0.88 whip, really good. Home road splits are pretty insignificant. He's basically the same either way. He's walked a few too many guys in his most recent outings, but he's still been really effective. He did just face the Mets, though. So the Mets did recently see him, but they're really familiar with him anyway, so I don't think that really matters. He pitched fine in that game. It wasn't his best outing, but he did all right in that game, and he picked up a win, gave up 2 runs in 5 2/3. Walked too many guys, though, like I said, but his overall numbers are good. Low hit rate, low walk rate, reasonably high strikeout rate. However, as I was alluding to, his numbers against the Mets are not as good as you would think. In 159 at-bats, they have a 270 average and 799 OPS against him, 46 strikeouts and 22 walks, although 17 of those walks are Soto. Soto is listed here, so maybe he is active again here. Mets probably need to hope that's the case because he's one of their guys that does the most damage against Wheeler. But Wheeler, it does look like this is not the most ideal matchup here. Facing a lineup that just saw him, that actually puts up decent numbers against him, and in a huge sample because they're really familiar with him. Problem is the Mets, they're going with Zach Thornton, I'm pretty sure, is their listed starter here. I don't know what to think about that. He's not listed on their roster on ESPN right now because they called him back up from AAA. I don't know what we're going to get out of Thornton here, man. He's made 1 start, I think, in his major league career so far. It was earlier this year, and he wasn't very good. I can look up what it was. I think he went 4 innings. Hold on, I'm going to look it up. Zach Thornton. Let me see. It was on May 20th against Washington. He went 4 1/3 innings, gave up 4 earned runs. Only on 4 hits, though. 3 strikeouts, 2 walks. It was not a very good outing, though. He threw 80 pitches, so he threw way too many pitches. He's got an 8.31 ERA and 1.38 whip, and I didn't bring it up in the same window, but whatever. So those are Thornton's numbers there. I would not trust him, man. Wheeler is obviously the better starter here, but the money is backing the Mets here. 83% of the tickets, 78% of the cash on Philly at about minus 150 something here. I get it. I know the Mets should have a spark from firing their manager or whatever, but I don't think I would want to do this. I don't want to do it, obviously. I guess that the argument is also the Phillies just favored by too much here on the road, but obviously there are reasons for it. I don't know, man. To me, I think Philly is still probably going to win this game, but obviously there are some question marks with it there. I think more of the negatives go against the Mets here than against Philly, though. So, there are a lot of factors in that game. Obviously not on my card. Kyle, what's up? Thanks for hanging out. All right. I'm trying to get through these games, man. This is bad. I don't even think I'm halfway through yet. This is crazy. Seattle and Cleveland. This game, Castillo against Cantillo. Yeah. Cleveland is returning home from a road trip, and actually they're the other team that I was thinking of that had a three-series road trip. They're returning from Milwaukee, Houston, and Chicago, so that's a little bit less bad that they stayed in the central time zone for this entire thing. Well, I think they're in the eastern time zone, though, where they are, but still, that's not that bad returning back home, but it is still bad to be in a return home spot. So yes, they are still in a fade spot in the return home. They've been away from home for a while. They might get distracted being back at home here. They're coming off a big win over the White Sox yesterday, as the White Sox are the team that's battling them for the division right now. So they're coming off a big series, returning home. Could be a letdown spot plus the home distraction spot. Not good. Although maybe Seattle's not a team they will totally overlook here. Cleveland had the day off yesterday, though. Seattle did not. Seattle did lose to Pittsburgh, though, and they're only traveling from Pittsburgh to Cleveland, which is a very short travel spot there. But Seattle did play yesterday, so they are at a rest disadvantage, but still the travel spot is way better for Seattle here than for Cleveland. So I would be possibly considering fading Cleveland here. Cleveland, of course, didn't play yesterday. We were talking about Seattle. Seattle used three relief pitchers, but Spire for one pitch. Seattle's got the better bullpen, in my opinion, here, though, even though they're ranked slightly less. Cleveland 15th, Seattle 17th, but Seattle's got the better bullpen ERA. I think they have the better bullpen, even though Cleveland is rested. But these are both okay bullpens here. I think Seattle's is actually a good bullpen, though. Offensively, both teams have had their issues. Seattle 27th right now, Cleveland 28th. Seattle dealing with some offensive injuries, though. Seattle's going with Luis Castillo, and I don't know what's happened to him, man. He's been like a staple of their rotation. He's been a pretty steady pitcher for them, steady presence in their rotation, and this year he has not been good. 5.22 ERA, 1.4 whip. This is not good. I think they kind of probably hurt his confidence, though, because they took him out of the starting rotation, put him in the bullpen. I think that's bad. Like, I think if you have a guy that's a veteran like him and he's been in your starting rotation for years and years and he's been a pretty decent pitcher, I think one of the last things you want to do is put him in the bullpen and hurt his confidence. You know what I mean? Just let him regain his confidence in the starting rotation. So I don't know why Seattle did that. I mean, I do know why, because he was struggling, but I still don't think they should have. Castillo somehow is better on the road this year, 4.85 road ERA, which is still not good, but it makes no sense because Seattle's pitchers almost all do better at home in that pitcher-friendly stadium, so I don't know why that's the case there. Castillo has not been pitching well recently, though. A couple of these recent appearances have been out of the bullpen. His walk rate has actually been pretty low recently, but he's still not really been that good. He hasn't gone that deep into some of these outings, and I don't know. There are just a lot of question marks with him here. On the season, he's got a high hit rate. His walk rate is a little bit too high as well. Strikeout rate is okay. But yeah, he's been struggling. But again, if you look at his overall career stats, this is really, really hard to explain. Like, he hasn't had like a significant injury recently or anything, unless he's injured now. Like, I don't know what the deal is here. Like, there's something going on because his career numbers are way better than this. So I keep thinking that at some point he's going to be better again. I have no idea what's going on with him. He's facing a weak Cleveland offense here, though, that's dealing with injuries. His numbers against Cleveland are not that good, though. These current Cleveland hitters, 43 at-bats, 279 average allowed, 706 OPS isn't too bad, but it's still not excellent. 12 strikeouts, 2 walks, that's pretty good. Maybe Castillo can do well here, though. At least he gets a weak offensive draw here, and he is a little bit better on the road, but I really don't know, man. And Cleveland, in the return home spot, their offense might be a little bit worse off. Cantillo is pitching for Cleveland, like I said. Joey Cantillo, 4.05 ERA. His whip is not good, though, 1.4. He is a little bit better at home, 3.74 home ERA. He was really good in his last start against Houston. His last 2 starts have been good against Detroit and on the road at Houston, where he went 8 innings allowing 1 earned run, 9 strikeouts, 1 walk, 4 hits. That was an excellent start from him. So it looks like you could argue that he is coming into form a little bit here. I don't know if I really trust him, though. His hit rate is pretty low. His walk rate is definitely too high. His strikeout rate is decent enough. His numbers against Seattle are pretty decent. 16 at bats. They have a lot of guys who have faced him, though. 250 average, 681 OPS, 7-3 strikeout walk ratio. So Cantillo actually might be the better pitcher to back here. I don't want to back Cleveland, though, in a return home spot. I mean, I think the spot is really bad for them, but I don't want to back Seattle either here. Cleveland, 54% of tickets, 71% of the cash on Cleveland. They're basically at a pick'em price at around -110. I don't really have a whole lot to say about this. The money's also backing the over here. Yeah, I mean, I could see the argument for the over where you have two pitchers that really are not elite here. Maybe the over could come through here, but Cleveland plays a lot of low-scoring games at home, too, so I don't know if I would really want to do that. Plus, the total's low. It's mostly 7.5, and you know that if it's low, that pretty much is the odds makers telling you they think it's going to be a low-scoring game, which does seem crazy given that this is not a good pitching matchup here, really. So you don't expect to see a total that low with this pitching matchup, but that does kind of tell you something. All right, Kansas City and the White Sox. This game, Kansas City has not actually decided on a starter yet here. We can handicap it with Kolek here because it looked like he was going to start. I don't know why he wouldn't, so I don't know. I don't know if he has an injury or what the deal is here. The White Sox were off yesterday, and they're staying at home, but they're coming off a big divisional series against Cleveland. I know this is also a divisional series, but the Royals are a team that probably are not going to be paid much attention to because they're not good, and they're in last place. Kansas City did play yesterday, though. They're having to travel up from Tampa Bay, and they have a rest disadvantage. So that's an advantage to the White Sox. The White Sox are staying at home and had yesterday off. Kansas City having to travel from Florida and with no days off. That's not good for Kansas City. Kansas City used two relief pitchers yesterday. Neither bullpen is very good, but Kansas City's is worse. They're 29th right now, and their ERA is one of the worst as well. They're not one of the ones above 5, but close. They're not a good bullpen. The White Sox are not great, but they're better than Kansas City at 22nd. So the White Sox have a rest edge, a bullpen edge. They have an offensive edge as they've fallen off a little bit, but they are 11th right now, tied with the Giants, who I think are definitely the lesser of those two offenses. The White Sox are fairly decent. The Royals have not been that good. They're 19th right now in offense. So the White Sox do have an offensive edge as well. Do they have a starting pitching edge here? I would say no. We don't know if it's going to be Kolek or not for Kansas City, though. Kolek is listed as day-to-day. I think that's why they're undecided here. So it would be his turn in the rotation, but I don't know if he's actually going to start or not. He's got a 4.15 ERA, 1.19 whip is pretty good. He's a little bit less on the road, or a little bit worse on the road, 4.3 road ERA. He got absolutely obliterated by St. Louis in his last start, though. That is not a good sign. He gave up 9 earned runs in 1 2/3 innings there on 9 hits, 1 walk, no strikeouts. That was really, really ugly. So that really, really destroyed his numbers here. Now, he's been better than that in every other start, obviously. I mean, he can't really be much worse than that. Will he bounce back? If he even pitches today, will he bounce back? I don't know. It looks like maybe an injury came into play in that start. So we don't even really know if he's healthy here. I don't think I would want to back Kolek here, though, man, although his numbers are all right here. Hit rate is all right. His walk rate is definitely low. His strikeout rate is not high, though, so he's another contact pitcher. So one of those guys the advanced analytics do not like. Kolek against the White Sox. Let me see. He does not have good numbers here. In 16 at-bats, 312 average, 1139 OPS. Those are not good numbers. And even if they push him back, he's still going to pitch in this series probably. But, yeah, those are the numbers. If he does pitch today, he is coming off a really bad start. He looks like he's not that healthy, and his matchup numbers are not good. So he looks fadeable here. David Sandlin, the young pitcher, I think he might be a rookie right now for the White Sox. He is pitching for the White Sox here. He's 25, though, so I think he had kind of a delayed start to his major league career. He's made 2 starts and 1 relief appearance so far. He had a really good start in his major league debut against Minnesota, but he's been bad since then. However, he got a bad draw on his second outing because he faced Minnesota again. So literally the one team that had experience against him saw him again, but they shelled him, and then he was bad against Philadelphia too. So I don't really see how we could trust Sandlin here. He's got an 8.1 ERA, 1.43 whip, 14-7 strikeout walk ratio in 13 1/3 innings, 12 hits allowed. So the walk number is bad. The rest of those numbers are not that bad, although he's allowed 4 home runs as well, which is not that good. Of course, the Royals have never seen him before, so he does have that advantage, at least with the unfamiliarity. I don't know if that's going to be enough, though. I think this game probably is an over. You might be able to play the over even with Kansas City being undecided because Kolek, even if Kolek pitches, he has bad matchup numbers. Kansas City might be going with a bullpen game if it's not him. I don't know who started, the game 5 games ago. Whoever it was, it did not go well for them. Well, that was the Kolek game, though. So let me see. I don't know who Kansas City would be going with here. If they flip-flop, maybe they would go with whoever pitched the day before that, which would be Seth Lugo. Looks like he'd be next up because it looks like Lugo pitched yesterday, so it can't be him. So they already pushed Kolek back, it looks like. So Lugo pitched yesterday. So it's not going to be him or Cameron or Avila or Waka probably because they all pitched. I mean, I guess if they were going to go with another, it would be Waka, I guess, if they were really going to try to go with another starter, but they'd be moving him up, and he is scheduled to pitch tomorrow right now. So I don't know, man. This could be a bullpen game for Kansas City here. Yeah, I think an over could be a way to look here. You got 2 bad bullpens. The starting pitching setup here is very questionable. We have 56% of tickets on the under, 94% of the cash on the over. The number's 8.5 on the total, which is not that high, and juice to the under. So, yeah, I think the over makes the most sense there in that game. White Sox are getting the money at minus 134. So here, 67% of tickets, 76% of the cash on the White Sox. I wouldn't disagree because, as I already said, the White Sox have a day of rest here, and they're staying at home. So they do have that advantage there, and they do have the better bullpen still. So I wouldn't really disagree with the White Sox. The big series of the weekend, basically, besides the Red Sox-Yankees, I guess. But this is probably bigger, really, because these teams are actually good. Whereas the Red Sox are not good. The Cubs and Milwaukee on Apple TV here. This is a big series, man. Milwaukee has a 6.5 game advantage over Chicago right now in the division. So I think the Cubs are going to be the more motivated team here. Milwaukee is returning home from the road. They went to Atlanta and Cincinnati. They had yesterday off, though, so Milwaukee does have a huge rest advantage here because in the last 2 days, Milwaukee has played 1 game and the Cubs have played 3. So Milwaukee has a huge rest advantage here, but I still don't want Milwaukee because they're returning home from the road, so I don't like that. Road trip return, a lot of times you'll be distracted. You have to get back to home life, although maybe the Cubs will grab their attention because it is still the team that's closest to them in the division. But again, it's a horrible spot for the Cubs, too, because, again, the Cubs played a doubleheader 2 days ago. They played yesterday as well. They swept the Mets, although I don't think that's going to put them in a letdown spot. They are traveling from New York here with no time off, so the rest edge is heavily in favor of Milwaukee, though, because, again, they didn't play yesterday, whereas the Cubs played yesterday and played 2 games the day before that. So big advantage rest-wise for Milwaukee here. Milwaukee has the better bullpen, in my opinion, as well, and didn't have to use anybody, whereas look at the Cubs' bullpen usage. The last 2 days, everybody has come out of the bullpen the last 2 days, and in fact, 4 of their relief pitchers pitched on both Wednesday and Thursday. This Cubs bullpen, you got to avoid them here. I mean, this is just bad, dude. Even though they're not a bad bullpen, they're ranked 10th right now. The Brewers are actually 12th, but the Brewers have the much, much, much more rested bullpen, and they have a better bullpen ERA, so they're the better bullpen. Brewers have a big bullpen edge here. You're going to have to pay a lot if you want Milwaukee here, though, because the Brewers also have a huge starting pitching advantage in this game. So there are just way too many advantages for Milwaukee here in the matchup, dude. Milwaukee, they also have a comparable offense to the Cubs. The Cubs might be a little bit better at 6th. Milwaukee's 10th, but Milwaukee can definitely hang with their hitting. Colin Ray is pitching for the Cubs. Not great. 4.99 ERA, 1.4 whip. Really bad on the road. 7.19 road ERA. That is not good. He actually had a shutout last time at home against Toronto for 5 1/3, but he was pitching really poorly prior to that, so I think that's more of an outlier against kind of a weak offense. I do not trust Ray here. His overall numbers are bad. High hit rate, pretty high walk rate, low strikeout rate. Not a lot to like here. His numbers against Milwaukee, 57 at-bats, 316 average allowed, 839 OPS, 7-8 strikeout walk ratio. None of that is good, so he does not have a good matchup here either. And he's going up against Jacob Mierzowski, as you could probably guess already. So huge starting pitching edge from Milwaukee here. 1.45 ERA, 0.75 whip. Absolutely ridiculous numbers. Slightly worse at home somehow, 1.58 home ERA. Mierzowski is just dominating. I mean, what can you say? He's allowed no more than 3 earned runs in any start this season. He's allowed 0 runs in, 8 of his last 10 outings? I think that's what that is. That's absolutely insane. So he's probably the best pitcher in baseball already. He has a ridiculously low hit rate. Almost 1 every 2 innings. Pretty low walk rate, too, and a really high strikeout rate, which I think is probably the highest in baseball. I mean, it's just ridiculous that he's still throwing like 103 miles an hour in the 6th inning of a ball game. Like, nobody's ever really done that before. You look at that, chart of the fastest pitches thrown, which is usually all relief pitchers are going to be in there because they come in for like 1-2 innings and they're throwing absolute gas. Mierzowski is still half of that chart. And he's doing that, 6 innings into a game. It's insane. No other starting pitcher even makes that chart of the fastest pitches thrown this season. Mierzowski against the Cubs, as you could probably guess, good numbers, 157 average allowed, 438 OPS, and 70 at-bats, 26 strikeouts, 6 walks. Domination here. Even though I know it's a return home spot for the Brewers, this is probably one of the rare scenarios where I would still be looking towards that team in the return home spot. I mean, they just have way too many edges here. They have a huge rest advantage. They have the bullpen advantage. They have the way better starting pitcher. There's not a huge offensive difference here. Total here is low at 7. Money coming in towards the under. I mean, it is a Mierzowski game, but there's not a whole lot of leeway there with that total being 7. Milwaukee is getting the money, 81% of tickets. 93% of the cash on them, but you have to lay like minus 260 with Milwaukee here. You can't do that, obviously, but maybe it's a scenario where you do look to lay the run line with Milwaukee. I mean, you could go Milwaukee over their team total, but I actually don't like that as much because their offense might struggle a little bit in the return home spot with rest. You don't really want to take Mierzowski out of the equation because he's one of the best things about Milwaukee here. So you're paying a price. You're paying for Mierzowski if you're gonna pay for this though. Obviously that's the thing. If you want to go Milwaukee over their team total, you don't have to pay the price for their pitcher. So that's the thing about that. I don't know, man. I mean, I think maybe laying a Milwaukee run line is still what makes the most sense in that game. I'm going to be right back, and then I'm going to finish baseball here, and it's still going to take another hour to finish everything because we still have WNBA, where I actually have a play. I have one more play here, and it's in the WNBA. I'm skipping the World Cup today. I know World Cup has been good, but I just don't see a spot that I really like in the World Cup. WNBA, I was kind of questioning it, but I think we have a good spot in the WNBA, and we need to get back on track because I'm not happy about being 6-4 after I was 5-0 to start the season. But remember, 2 of those losses were real bullshit. I'm going to be right back and talk about the rest of these games here. I do have one more baseball play here as well. All right. Next game is Colorado and Minnesota. I mean, this really, really reads as an over type of series here. I mean, you have two really bad bullpens here. Both teams were off yesterday, though, so I don't know if I love the over in that scenario where the offenses might have cooled off a little bit. The bullpens are rested, but these are still horrible bullpens. Minnesota just faced the Dodgers, and they got swept. They lost 2 of those games by 1 run, though. They're staying at home, so maybe there's a little bit of an advantage there, but possible letdown maybe off the Dodger series. Rockies are coming in off of beating the Red Sox, and the Red Sox should have swept that series. The Red Sox had the lead late in both of the games that the Rockies won. The Red Sox had the lead, so the Red Sox were winning in the late innings of all 3 of those games, and somehow blew 2 of them. Colorado is going on the road here, but starting a road trip usually is kind of a positive spot. Usually you are focused. These bullpens are really bad. Minnesota's the worst bullpen in baseball. Their ERA is significantly worse than every other one, and their whip is also the worst. Horrible, horrible bullpen. The Rockies are also one of the bullpens with an ERA above 5, which are the A's, the Rockies, Washington, and Minnesota. Really, really bad bullpens going in this. This is a ridiculously bad bullpen matchup. The Rockies have been hitting again. They're number 7, but they are having to go on the road now where they're probably not going to hit as well. Minnesota is 8th, tied with the Braves. I think they're overrated at 8th, though. This starting pitching matchup, Tomoyuki Sugano is pitching for the Rockies. He's actually been all right. I mean, the advanced analytics guys hate Sugano, man. Like, they don't think he's good. He's kind of a junk pitcher. He was all right last year with Baltimore, and then the analytics guys are like, oh, he's going to die in Colorado, but that hasn't really been the case. He's been one of their better starters. He's got a 4.31 ERA, 1.29 whip. That's not great, but it's not bad. He's actually worse on the road, which is kind of hilarious. 4.46 road ERA. I don't know how he's better at Coors Field, but interesting. He pitched well last time out at Coors Field against Pittsburgh. He was good, and that's a pretty good Pittsburgh offense, although they are worse on the road. He's had some starts where he's been bad in here, but his one recent bad start was at the A's stadium, so he did pitch bad in that stadium. Got massive amounts of run support and still won the game. His overall numbers, his hit rate is right around 1 per inning. His walk rate is reasonably low. Really low strikeout rate, of course, because he throws junk. He gets people to hit into contact or soft contact. But he's not a bad pitcher, in my opinion. Against Minnesota, they have a 267 average and 979 OPS against him, though, in 15 at-bats. They only have 6 hitters who have faced him. 1 strikeout, 1 walk. But that's still, obviously, this is not the greatest matchup for Sugano, it looks like. So he might not pitch too well here. Taj Bradley is pitching for Minnesota. He's been okay. If you look at the season in its entirety, he's been all over the place, though, just up and down. We took some losses trying to back him on the show. 4.11 ERA, 1.32 whip. I've always thought that he had talent, though. Like, he has strikeout stuff. I don't think he's that bad of a pitcher, and I don't know. Tampa Bay decided to get rid of him. He's been good at home this year, actually. 3.82 home ERA. That's not bad. He's pitching a little bit better again recently. He's gone at least 5 innings in his last 2 starts. His team won both starts. He picked up a win in one of them. He had an 11-3 strikeout walk ratio in 11 2/3 innings. So that was pretty good over his last 2 starts there. Although I know he gave up 4 runs to St. Louis, but he pitched better than that makes it look. So he seems to be kind of coming back into form a little bit over his last 2 starts here. He's got a high strikeout rate. Like I said, that makes me think that he does have talent because he could strike guys out. He's got a low hit rate. His problem is the walks. He walks too many guys. He's got to fix that. And that is kind of a fixable thing. Although, as you've seen, as I've talked about, a lot of times when a guy fixes that, other problems arise, like with Arrighetti, who we're going to try to fade today. Like a lot of times these pitchers become too hittable. Against Colorado, Bradley has actually been really good in 31 at-bats, 161 average allowed, 493 OPS, 8-3 strikeout walk ratio. So I think Bradley does actually draw a pretty good matchup here. I think Minnesota first 5 actually makes some sense here. I think Bradley is the more talented pitcher here, has the higher ceiling. Even though I don't hate Sugano, But you also get the better of the matchup numbers here with Bradley, but you do have to lay a price for this. 73% of tickets, 92% of the cash on Minnesota. They're at minus 160 something here. Of course, Colorado is always going to be a big underdog pretty much. I think Minnesota first 5 makes sense, though. Just isolate the starting pitching matchup here. You'd have to lay a half run with Minnesota, but obviously this is not going to make my card, but maybe that makes sense. Money is also still backing the over here. This might be a series where we do come in and find an over to play in this series, but I'm not going to do it in this game. Again, I think Bradley might actually pitch okay here. These are not the worst pitchers that you're going to get in this series, so we'll wait and see if there's a better pitching matchup in the series to take the over. All right, Miami and St. Louis. This game, on the surface, this looks like an under to me, and maybe it will be. St. Louis, yesterday's game was postponed against Arizona, so St. Louis had yesterday off, and they're staying at home. Miami also had yesterday off, so both teams have rest here. So St. Louis initially was going to be at a rest disadvantage, but now they have the same rest and they're not traveling. Miami is traveling from Miami. But starting a road trip a lot of times is a focus spot because you want to get off on the right foot on the road trip. Miami is a good bullpen. They're ranked 3rd, and their ERA kind of backs that up too. They're pretty good. St. Louis, not really as good, but they are rested at least. St. Louis is ranked 21st. Their ERA is a little bit better than that. I don't think they're actually a bottom 10 bullpen. I think they're kind of a middle-of-the-pack bullpen. Offensively, Miami 18th. St. Louis is 13th, tied with Houston. So these have been middle-of-the-pack offenses. This is a pitcher-friendly ballpark, though, and these are not offenses that really light it up, so that makes this look kind of underish as well. I always talk about when teams have rest, that helps the under as well because the bullpens are rested, the offense can cool off a little bit. Miami has their best pitcher on the mound, Max Meyer, who has been on bereavement leave, but it looks like he is pitching today. Got to wonder if the bereavement is going to affect his mental state at all, although it could also be a positive, right? Maybe he wants to, put that stuff out of mind and just go back and pitch, you know what I mean? But he's been really good, 2.8 ERA, 1.16 whip. He's actually undefeated, 8-0. I don't want to jinx him. He's been a little bit worse on the road, though, 3.66 road ERA. This might be one of the better road matchups that he draws, though, because he's facing kind of a middling offense in a pitcher-friendly park here. Myers pitched pretty well recently. Really high strikeout rate recently, although his walk rate's been a little bit too high as well. Not all good, but mostly good. He's got a low hit rate on the season. His walk rate is the worst number that he has. It's not that bad, though. And his strikeout rate is high. So, yeah, overall, I think Myers is good. I like him. Watching him in the past, I always thought that he was a pretty good pitcher, and that has been the case this year. Against St. Louis, yeah, he's been good against them in 18 at-bats. They have only 5 hitters who have faced him. 167 average, 472 OPS, 5-2 strikeout walk ratio. So it looks like he draws a good matchup here. Really the only guy that does damage against him is Jordan Walker, who has the only extra base hit, a double. Walker is a really talented young hitter. But Meyer looks like he draws a good matchup here. I think he should pitch well here. Michael McGreevy, so we have a lot of M's here. It's the MMMM matchup, the M&M matchup here. McGreevy, he's another guy that the advanced analytics guys hate because he pitches to contact, but he doesn't put too many guys on base. He was supposed to pitch yesterday, so he is just going to pitch today. So that was the case with both Arizona and St. Louis. They're not messing with their starting rotation. They're just going to go with the next guy up. McGreevy, 3.35 ERA, 1.15 whip. I think McGreevy had a better matchup yesterday, though, against Arizona, because his matchup numbers against Miami I think they're not as good. McGreevy's been good at home, though, 2.25 home ERA. Wasn't really good in his last start. Gave up 5 runs on the road at Kansas City, but he's been generally pretty good. He's allowed more than 3 earned runs only 3 times this season. Low hit rate, pretty low walk rate, too. His strikeout rate is really low as well, though. Like I said, he pitches to contact, but sometimes the advanced analytics, I think they get overstated a bit. This guy just doesn't blow guys away. And yeah, we all like pitchers that blow guys away, but if he's pitching effectively and not putting guys on base, I mean, that is what he's doing. Like, if you can repeat the same thing over and over again, you know what I mean? Trying to go against it is the definition of insanity, basically. So I don't think McGreevy is that bad, although, yes, granted, maybe there could be some regression in here. But he's also done this for, like, a bit. You know, like, last year, he pitched, like, half the season last year, and his numbers were, worse than this, so there might be some regression here, but he wasn't exactly bad. McGreevy, though, against Miami, you know, I said his numbers were bad. I mean, they're mediocre, actually, in 23 at-bats, 261 average, 755 OPS. That's not that bad. 3-2 strikeout-walk ratio. They only have 6 hitters who have faced him. I still think this game does look like an under. I think that's the way I would play this game. You got a lot going for you with the under here, but the money's backing the over. I have no idea why. 58% of tickets, 90% of the cash on the over. The total's 8. But again, you got rest here, rested bullpens. I know St. Louis's bullpen's not totally trustworthy, but they're not the worst bullpen. You get Miami with a really good bullpen. I think you have a decent starting pitching matchup here. So yeah, under makes sense to me here. Money is also backing Miami. 61% of tickets, 87% of the cash on Miami. You're getting basically a pick'em price on that, and I wouldn't disagree with Miami. Meyer, I think, is the better pitcher. He's got the better stuff, better matchup numbers as well, and you got the better bullpen with Miami. So, yeah, I wouldn't disagree with Miami in that game either, but I think an under makes a little bit more sense. Speaking of which, we have my next play. This one, you know, just kind of feels wrong, but I kind of like this. We're going to take the first 5 under in the A's and Angels. And I know I've tried some first 5 unders with the Angels, and it's not gone well. But I think we get a really good number on this at 4.5 at -118. 4.5 is pretty good. Like, when you think it's going to be a lower scoring first 5, a 4.5 is a pretty nice number to see out there. Like, I was expecting it wouldn't be that good. But the full game total here is fairly high because, well, actually, it's only 8.5, so that actually surprised me more. They were getting the 4.5 here, although maybe it makes sense. But full game, we're seeing money all over the over here, and that does worry me. We have 72% of the cash on the under, 92% of the cash on the over of the 8.5. But, of course, a lot of that has to do with the fact that these are horrible bullpens. These bullpens are miserably bad, so I'm taking the bullpens out of the equation here. The A's played yesterday. Anaheim did not. The A's used 5 relief pitchers. The A's are traveling from San Francisco here, so they're going from the Bay Area down to Southern California. Not the worst trip to be on. The Angels had yesterday off, though, and they are staying at home. So the Angels do have a better spot here, really. So they have the rest and travel advantage here, the Angels do. But still, I don't like these bullpens. We're taking them out of the equation. The A's are 23rd, but they have one of the worst bullpen ERAs. They've been awful recently. Yeah, nope, avoid. And the Angels' bullpen is 24th, although their ERA is better, but still, we're going to avoid. I like the starting pitching here, though, obviously. And yes, the A's have a good offense, number 4. The Angels, not quite as much as 17th, but I think the pitchers can do well here, man. You're looking at these pitchers. These are not named pitchers here. And, you know, I kind of like that when you have pitchers that aren't named pitchers and you get to go under with them, although I know I'm going over with some pitchers that aren't named pitchers either. But JT Ginn might be the A's best starting pitcher this year. He's got a 3.16 ERA. 1.21 whip is not horrible. He's been really good on the road, though. 1.99 road ERA, and it makes sense. You know, you can explain it because that A's stadium's really bad, and his numbers still aren't even really that bad in that stadium, but he's been good on the road, so I like that. Yes, he did just face the Angels, so I know I don't love necessarily backing starting pitchers where the offenses literally just saw both pitchers, and that is the case here. So familiarity, a lot of times, I think the offenses have the advantage, but I don't think so here when you look at the matchup numbers. Ginn didn't do that well last time out at home against Anaheim, but I think it's better for him that he's pitching on the road here. And he did actually face Anaheim on the road, I think, earlier in the season. Yeah, and he was excellent in that start earlier in the year in middle May. 8 innings, 2 hits allowed, although he did allow 2 runs, 10 strikeouts, 1 walk. He was really good in that start at Anaheim. So I think maybe this start is going to be a little bit more in that direction than this, where he gave up 4 runs and 5 1/3 last time at home. against Anaheim. I actually think he bounces back from that. He's way better on the road, and if you look at his numbers against Anaheim overall, pretty good, and 61 at bats. So even though they have a lot of experience against him, it hasn't really helped them that much. 21-4 strikeout walk ratio is really good. 213 batting average allowed. 639 OPS. So he's got some good matchup numbers here. So I like Ginn here, and we're also going to back Walbert Ureña, who I think this guy is good, dude. Like, I think he's going to be one of the better pitchers that Anaheim has here. He's still really young at 22. He's got a 2.41 ERA. His whip is still too high, 1.31. He's got some walk issues there, but I like him. I think he's good. He's been excellent at home, 1.85 ERA. So both of our pitchers here have a sub-2 ERA in their home road splits here. He just shut out the A's in that same game. He pitched against Ginn in that game. He went 5 shutout innings in that A's stadium, and that is a really good sign. If you go into that A's stadium and you allow nothing, basically, really good sign there. He allowed 4 hits, 6 strikeouts, no walks. So his walk number has also gone down over his last couple of starts. He was pretty good in both those starts. That's a pretty good sign. He's actually just kind of pitching better in general recently. That's a good sign. The fact that he pitched really well in that A's stadium is a good sign as well. He pitched really well against them earlier in the season, too, in mid-May here at home. He shut them out for 6 innings in that game, too. So he's gone, whatever that is, 11 shutout innings so far against the A's here. So he's been really good against the A's specifically. He's allowed a low hit rate this season. His strikeout rate is decent. He issues a lot of ground balls or gets guys to hit into a lot of grounders, which is good. That's part of the reason why he pitched pretty well in that A's stadium, I think. His walk rate is way too high, though. Like I said, his walks are a huge issue. Seems to be getting it under control a little bit, and he's been excellent against the A's, dude. Even though their offense is good, he's had the upper hand against them. So even after the A's saw him once, the A's had every advantage they could have, basically, at home in a better hitting park, and they still couldn't do anything against him. So that leads me to believe that he does have a good matchup here. He's got 35 at-bats against the A's now, 229 average, 585 OPS, 8-2 strikeout walk ratio. So he's been, again, quite good against them overall. I like it. I think we have a good starting pitching matchup here. Under first 5, even though the full game is getting the money on the over here. But there are obvious reasons we're taking the bullpens out. So under is the play there. First 5 only, of course. Next game, Apple TV. This is one of the bigger matchups of the weekend, too. Dodgers and Padres. Although San Diego, I don't know about them, man. They're 9 games behind the Dodgers right now, but they're going to be extra motivated probably. San Diego's staying at home with a day off here. Both teams had yesterday off. So both teams have rest, but San Diego's staying at home. You'd think maybe they'd be in a letdown spot after sweeping the Braves. Huge series for San Diego to sweep the Braves, but obviously they're not going to overlook the Dodgers. So they're going to be focused for this series. I'm not really worried about the letdown here. Dodgers are traveling in from Minnesota, which is a little bit more of a questionable spot here. I talk about it when a team is in one of the more eastern time zones, and then they have to go all the way out to the Pacific time zone and play a late game. It can mess with their biological clock, so that's not great for the Dodgers here. They did just sweep Minnesota, like I said, but whatever. I mean, they're the better team, obviously. But some things seem to, kind of line up for San Diego here. San Diego does have the better bullpen here as well. And yeah, everybody's rested here as well. Dodgers have a decent bullpen at 4th. San Diego is 6th, but San Diego has the second best bullpen ERA. They're like an elite bullpen pretty much. So I think they're better than the Dodgers, though Dodgers bullpen is not bad either. Dodgers are the number 1 offense, and San Diego is dead last at 30th. So we have the best offense versus the worst offense here. So the Dodgers do have that edge, and the Dodgers offense is really good on the road. But this is a pitcher-friendly ballpark here in San Diego. Dodgers are going with Roki Sasaki. I don't know what to think about him, man. He's got a 4.76 ERA, 1.29 whip. Not exactly great numbers here. He's not good on the road, 6.19 road ERA, so that is a bit of an issue. You don't really want to back him when he's on the road. His last road start was really ugly at the White Sox, and my worry with a guy like Sasaki, because he was starting to pitch better, dude. He was figuring things out, But once he ran into that bad start, it kind of looks like it hung him over a little bit. He had another kind of questionable start the next time out against Baltimore, although it wasn't really that bad. It was also at home, though, but I worry that his mental state is still not totally there, like doesn't have the mental toughness, so maybe he is a little bit out of form right now. That would worry me a little bit here. San Diego basically hasn't faced him, though. Only France has ever faced him. Not the France that we're going to talk about in the World Cup. France is 0-for-1 against him with no strikeouts, no walks. So Sasaki does at least have an unfamiliarity edge here. He's going up against Walker Buehler, and, Buehler, I don't think he's that good anymore. He really hasn't been good since he had his Tommy John surgeries and whatever. But he's actually been pretty good recently, and it seems like pitching in San Diego has been pretty helpful to him because it is a pitcher-friendly ballpark. He's got a 3.96 ERA, 1.32 whip. That whip is too high, but his ERA is all right. He's been good at home, though. Like I said, 3.32 home ERA. And this month, he's actually been really good. He has a 1.71 ERA this month. San Diego's won his last 3 starts, and actually they've won 7 of his last 9, which is pretty ridiculous. He's got a 22-5 strikeout walk ratio this month. He's been a little bit too hittable, but he's actually been pretty good this month, and he's gone at least 5 innings in 3 of the 4 outings. He's faced slightly weaker offenses here for the most part, though, but still, he is pitching better right now. His hit rate is still a little bit high on the season. His walk rate is actually not that high anymore, so he's not really a walker anymore, and his strikeout rate is reasonable. So he is actually, Buehler, he might not be a guy you necessarily want to completely avoid here. Against the Dodgers, who are his former team, by the way, one of his former teams, although I think he's faced them before anyway. He's got 49 at-bats against them, 224 average, 723 OPS. Those are not bad numbers, although they've hit him for a little bit of power, and they have 10 walks against him and 9 strikeouts. So he is a walker against them, so that is not great, the walk numbers there. But overall his matchup isn't too bad there. This total is really low at 7.5. So the odds makers are actually giving these starting pitchers some respect here. Part of it is because it's San Diego and their offense stinks, and it's a pitcher-friendly ballpark here. I was going to say undecided, but that's not true. That was San Francisco, which I'll talk about in a minute. That's the last game to talk about here. Dodgers are minus 148 basically on the money line here. They're getting the money, 73% of tickets, 95% of the cash on the Dodgers. I don't know about that, man. If it's going to be a low-scoring game, it looks like there are some situational aspects to this that kind of indicate towards San Diego a little bit. Maybe you could take the shot with San Diego as the underdog here. It looks almost too easy to play the Dodgers. Money is back in the over, 7.5 here, but I don't know about that either. I could see maybe an under coming in here, but, based on current form, I actually think that maybe Buehler is a little bit preferable to Sasaki. You get the better bullpen with San Diego here. A little bit of a better situational spot. I think maybe San Diego as the dog could be the way to look there. I wouldn't want to do it, though. And then we have Atlanta and San Francisco. San Francisco played yesterday. They're staying at home, though. But they did lose to the A's yesterday, and their bullpen hasn't been very good. And they used guys yesterday. They used 5 guys, so that is not good. Atlanta has the bullpen edge. Atlanta is number 1 in bullpen. Atlanta also didn't play yesterday. But the problem is, actually, there is not a problem. Atlanta's already on the Pacific Coast. What am I saying? I was thinking Atlanta would have to adjust to the time zone, but they don't because they just got swept in San Diego, so they're staying in California for this. So that's not bad for Atlanta either. They're already adjusted to the time zone. They're the number 1 bullpen, and it's by a pretty significant margin. Giants are ranked 25th. They haven't been a very good bullpen. So that lines up towards Atlanta here. Atlanta number 8 in offense, tied with Minnesota, but I think they're better than the Giants, who are tied in 11th with the White Sox. I don't buy this Giants offense at all. I think the Braves are the considerably better offense here, and they're pretty good on the road, although we do have a pitcher-friendly ballpark here. Atlanta is going with Ronaldo Lopez. He's back in their starting rotation. I don't know if that means Atlanta has some more injuries here or what's going on, because Lopez, I don't think he's that good, dude. I think he's a little bit of a head case, too. He used to be good, not anymore. He's been pitching out of the bullpen, and I think we've kind of forgotten about him because he's still been around. He's just been pitching out of the bullpen for a while. He's got a 3.5 ERA, 1.37 whip is not good, though. He's only slightly worse on the road. His home road splits are not significant. He's been reasonably good in his last 4 outings. Pretty good here. Overall, though, I don't know, man. The fact that he's not even pitching that well out of the bullpen generally, though, is not a good sign. Maybe he'll be excited to get another chance in the starting rotation, but he hasn't started for a while. These numbers, a lot of them look pretty ugly. His hit rate is fairly good. His strikeout rate is okay, but his walk number is horrible. He's got way too many walks here. So that is a huge problem here. I think his stuff is kind of diminished, too, now that he's like in his 30s. He can pitch well against the Giants, though. I mean, the Giants are a bad offense. This is a good pitching park. The Giants actually don't have bad numbers against them. They have a 307 average against them, so they hit for a lot of contact against them. Their OPS isn't that high. It's 742, but that's still kind of average. 15-4 strikeout walk ratio and 75 at bats. I don't know if I really want to trust Lopez here, man. Making his return to the starting rotation. Overall numbers worry me. Matchup numbers would worry me. Trevor McDonald was supposed to pitch for the Giants, and he doesn't look like he has an injury, so I don't know if they're going to start him or not. I think the reason why he might not start is because he hasn't been pitching well, but I don't know. If he does pitch, he's got a 4.93 ERA, 1.34 whip. He's been inexplicably bad at home, 6.1 home ERA. Again, it makes no sense because this is a more pitcher-friendly park, but McDonald has been pretty bad this past month. He hasn't even made it 4 innings in his last 2 outings, both against the Cubs, though. But he also has a 15-12 strikeout walk ratio this month. That is some bad stuff. Overall numbers don't look too bad. Low hit rate. His walk rate is becoming higher, though. And his strikeout rate is okay. He's got a lot of ground ball outs, which is good. But I don't think he's that bad of a pitcher, but he's not in good form right now. I could not back him here, even though Atlanta doesn't have any experience against him, so he does have an unfamiliarity edge if he does even pitch here. But I don't know, man. I mean, there are some advantages for Atlanta here. It looks too easy, though, to play Atlanta at minus 120 or less than that. That looks way too easy to play Atlanta, the team with the way better record. It's almost like the odds makers are begging you to play them. 77% or daring you to. 77% of tickets, 94% of the cash on Atlanta, though. So the money is backing Atlanta and backing the over at 8.5 here. I could see the over more than anything else here. I think you have some questionable pitching possibly here in this game with the way these starters look like they're lining up. It's San Francisco not even deciding on a starter yet. Maybe you could take the shot with the over here. This game is going to be one I'm definitely going to avoid, though. There are some advantages to Atlanta, though, like the rest and the bullpen. So if you do play Atlanta, you should go full game with it. But I don't really have much else to say about that. All right, let's go to the WNBA. Hopefully this will be a little bit quicker. All these games are on Ion. And again, I think I was right about all 3 WNBA games yesterday. And of course, none of them are on my card, so isn't that just great? Washington at Connecticut. This is an ugly game here. Connecticut just blew out Chicago. And a lot of times I don't want to play on a team that just had a blowout win. Because it looks too good, right? You win by 30 points. I think you could be in line for a little bit of a letdown. But in this case, maybe not, because Connecticut just ended a bad losing streak. They lost 7 games in a row. I think Connecticut's bad. They're the worst team in the league. But the fact that they just got a win, I think that's going to help them a little bit. Like I always say, when a team ends a losing streak, that's a long losing streak, winning a lot of times will give them a better shot in the next game. Like it'll halt their losing momentum and they'll play better in the next game, although I know that hasn't really been the case with Connecticut this year. But it could set them up a little bit better here. Now, the other thing that I like is they're staying at home and they're playing Washington, and they literally just lost here at home to Washington back on June 17th. So this is kind of a quick revenge spot, zigzag spot. And I like to dig into it to see, like, is there a reason why they lost this game by this much? But, I mean, this is kind of the case where Washington just is the better team, so it made sense that Washington beat them. Washington was actually an underdog, though, in that game, believe it or not. So I think Washington had some injuries or something because they opened a 4.5-point favorite, and I see no reason why Washington would have been an underdog against Connecticut unless there were injuries going on here, and I think there were. Connecticut wound up being a 2.5-point favorite in the game. Lost the game, but what I look for is, was there an outlier? And the answer is actually yes. Although Connecticut did get out-rebounded here, they were the worst team in the game. They kind of got dominated in the paint, but the free throw disparity was kind of insane in that Washington did go to the line just 7 more times, but they were 29 for 30 from the free throw line. 97%. I mean, obviously there's going to be some regression there. You're not going to shoot 97% from the free throw line again with that many free throw attempts. And the Sun only shot 65%, and that probably will positively regress a little bit. Teams are not going to shoot as bad from the free throw line, usually 65%. That's kind of ridiculous. Connecticut was also really bad from three-point range, 20%. Washington was 39%, so there is a little bit of three-point regression that could come here as well. Washington hit only 3 more threes, though, so it was 9 more points from 3, but yes, they did still have 14 more points from the free throw line. So that definitely affected the outcome there. So I do lean to Connecticut here to be be in a zigzag spot here and have some regression here. Washington is also in a bad spot. Washington is coming off 2 huge games against Minnesota where they beat Minnesota on the road. They came back home and they beat my play the other day by only losing by 2 to Minnesota, and they were hanging around in that game the whole time. So they're coming off of 2 monster games. Now they have to go on the road for a single game against Connecticut. I don't really see them being focused for that, although their next game is only against Portland, which is not really that big of a game. I wish it was Atlanta, their next opponent after that, because then it would be a sandwich spot. And then that would probably be enough for me to give out Connecticut here. It already almost is enough. I like Connecticut in this game. Connecticut is back to being a 4.5-point underdog, by the way. So I think Washington's injured players are probably back here. So you're getting Connecticut at a better price here, playing them as a dog. 88% of tickets, 93% of the cash on Washington at -4.5 here. They're a public side, even though it looks like they're getting some of the money. I would take Connecticut plus the points there. But then again, I still don't really necessarily want Connecticut off a blowout win like that either. So I'll stay off it, but I do kind of like it. Although you do kind of have to look, like, does Connecticut have a huge game up next? That is part of the equation. They do play Dallas and then Minnesota twice and Golden State. Those are all kind of big games. But again, I still don't think they're going to overlook Washington after losing to them at home. And being a 3-win team, you can't really overlook anybody. But yeah, I like Connecticut there. That is not my play, though. Portland and Chicago is the game that I have the least gauge on here. Chicago, well, it is a zigzag, though, so I don't know. Maybe I do have some gauge on this, too, because Chicago just annihilated Portland 101-78 at home. So my initial read on this would be that you want to fade Chicago after that, because after you have a lopsided result like that, Chicago's probably not going to do the same thing again, right? They're probably going to overlook Portland. Like, we just blew these guys out. Like, this is going to be easy, And they might have a look ahead because they play Vegas twice in the next 2 days. So that's big because Vegas is the returning champs and one of the best teams in the league still. So they might have a look ahead there. The one thing that is a positive for Chicago, though, is they ended a long losing streak. So a lot of times when you end a losing streak, you're going to play well in the next game. So they might play better here for that reason. They did beat Portland in the first game of the season, by the way, in Portland. But maybe Chicago does have some new momentum here. Now, for Portland, they're likely to show up because this team just annihilated them, so they're going to be embarrassed. They're probably going to show up. They don't have a big game up next against Washington, like I said. We have to dig into this box score, though, and the question is, was it an outlier? Chicago was a 3.5-point favorite in this game, something of note here. Chicago won the rebound battle easily, though. It looks like they kind of dominated in the paint. They did have 7 more free throws made, and they had 9 more free throw attempts. So that, a little bit of a disparity there, but Chicago was the better team in the paint. They dominated the rebound battle, like I said, so that has me concerned a little bit. That is one of my concerns with Connecticut, too, is that they got out-rebounded by Washington. We know Washington and Chicago are both the 2 better teams here in these 2 games. Now, the other thing that makes me not like Portland is they actually won the three-point battle in that game. They were actually plus 12 from three-point range and hit 40% of their threes. So I think there's going to be three-point regression from Portland in this game, so I don't like that. And Chicago could have some shooting regression in general, though, because they did shoot 52% from the field. So there is a little bit of room for regression there, but I don't like this well enough. I mean, if you're plus 12 from three-point range and you still lose by 23, that is not a good sign. I really don't want to back you in the next game. I'm still going to lean to Portland here, and the money does seem to agree with it, but I can't do it. I mean, I don't like it. I think this is the weakest of the three, even though I do have a somewhat stronger opinion than I usually do on all three games here. Minus 4.5 is the price here on Chicago, so they're actually laying a little bit more than they were in the last game. So it looks like the zigzag does kind of make sense here. You're getting like an extra point of value with Portland there based on what the line was in the previous game. 64% of the tickets are on Chicago, 68% of the cash on Portland. So the money agrees with me pretty strong. It looks like a pros versus Joes market scenario there with the money backing Portland. And that means my last play of the day is in this last game. We need to get back on track with the WNBA. This play is the Atlanta money line at minus 114. Now, if you want to lay 1 or 1.5, I think you could do that too. Like, obviously, it's highly likely that if they cover that number, if they win, they're probably going to cover as well. You know what I mean? So you can get the price down a little bit, but this money line price was so close to minus 110. It was just like, let's just play them to win the game. And then if they happen to win by 1, we'll still win instead of pushing the bet. I saw minus 1 at minus 110, and minus 105 was at like minus 105. So if you do want to do it that way, you could do that too. But, it's baseball season, so it almost feels like, we're in money line mode here. Atlanta is getting the money, by the way, even though they're public. 80% of tickets, 95% of the cash on Atlanta, but I'm going to make my case for Atlanta here in a second. Again, yeah, you can lay minus 1, 1.5. It might be a pick 'em at some places out there too. But any of those I think is fine. Like, I think if they cover, if they win, they're likely going to cover. Now, this is a zigzag spot as well. So Golden State just beat Atlanta at home by 11, and I told you I liked Golden State in that game because Golden State got annihilated by Vegas in the last game. They were staying in the Pacific time zone, and Atlanta was having to travel out to the Pacific time zone. And Atlanta was also coming off a pretty big, well, not a big game against Toronto, never mind. But I thought Atlanta traveling out west was going to be a bad spot for them because these East Coast teams going out west that first game a lot of times messes with their biological clock. But now I think now that they're out there and they're literally staying in the same city here in San Francisco or whatever for this game, they're going to be adjusted to the time zone now. So it's going to be a way better spot for Atlanta here to bounce back. So I like that. Golden State does have a big ESPN game up next against New York. And New York is one of the better teams in the league too. So even though they shouldn't overlook Atlanta, they just beat Atlanta, man. And that New York game is going to be a big TV game. So it is possible Golden State does maybe have one eye looking ahead there. And I think Atlanta's going to be the team that has more focus here. I know they just lost a 4-game win streak, but I'm not too concerned about that being a hangover here because I think they're going to bounce back here, man. They're laying basically the same price they were in the first game. They were about 1.5 in this first game. So there's no real line value here, but I think the spot is really good. And the zigzag has not caused the line to give us less value here. You know what I mean? Like, we're not having to lay extra points with Atlanta here. And if we look at this game, yeah, I think Atlanta is going to bounce back here because Atlanta only plays Seattle next. They're not going to be focused on that game tomorrow. They're actually playing a rare back-to-back and third game in 4 days. That's very rare in the WNBA. So they're going to have to do that tomorrow. Tomorrow's spot might be a bad spot for them. But Seattle's going to be coming off a big upset that they pulled yesterday, too. So preview of tomorrow, I'm probably not going to have a play in that game. Both teams probably in a bad spot. But assuming that Atlanta does what we expect them to do here. But yeah, Atlanta, they're staying in the same city here for this game. Both teams are, on the same rest here in the same city. Now Atlanta's adjusted to the Pacific time zone. They don't have a look-ahead spot here. they're going to try to beat the team that just beat them. And Golden State is still a pretty decent team, and they are good at home, 8-3. Although Atlanta's still good on the road at 6-3. And the reason why I really start to like this is if we look at the previous game, there were some pretty big outliers here in this game. Golden State was winning most of the game. Atlanta had a terrible second quarter, 9 points in the second quarter. That's not going to happen again. And they tried to make a comeback in the fourth quarter. They had a great fourth quarter, but it wasn't enough because they had a bad game. But look at what happened in this game, dude. Golden State shot 45% from the field to Atlanta's 39%. So I think there's going to be some regression there in the field goal percentage. Atlanta actually took more field goals in the game. So Atlanta actually won the turnover battle. And I know that's not a good sign if you win the turnover battle and you still lose the game. But I'm going to talk about the outliers that we have in a minute here. It's mostly the three-pointers, though. Atlanta did win the rebounding battle. So you see a team winning the rebound battle, usually that indicates that team is going to be close to winning the game. So I think Atlanta's the better team in the paint. And yes, Atlanta did, they have Angel Reese. So Atlanta did go to the line 10 more times. And usually I'm going to say, well, I don't like that because if you lose the game and you have that much of a free throw disparity, that's bad. But the thing was, the disparity was really the percentage. Atlanta only shot 55% from the free throw line. They're not going to do that again. Even if Angel Reese is terrible at shooting, 55% is ridiculous. You're not going to shoot 55% again from the free throw line. So if Atlanta's going to go to the line more again, which there are some reasons why they did that, because they're a better team at drawing fouls, they should shoot better than that. So I think there's going to be a regression there, but the huge regression point here is clearly the three-pointers. Golden State was plus 33 from three-point range in that game, and they only won by 11. So I think that's a really bad sign for Golden State. They hit 11 more three-pointers in the game. They hit almost half of their threes, 47%, 15 threes to Atlanta's 4. You are not going to see anywhere close to that much of a disparity again there. Even if Atlanta does like to play on the inside and they don't take that many threes, Golden State, there's a lot of variance with the three-point percentage there. They're not going to hit 47% again. And Atlanta is probably not going to shoot 22% from three again either. So that is a massive disparity there. Huge outlier there. I think that's going to regress back to some sort of mean. We're going to zigzag. We're going to take Atlanta. That is my one play there. And you're getting the better team here, too. So that I do like that as well when you're getting the better team. And they might be getting overlooked a little bit. So we'll take Atlanta there to win in a good spot to do it. And then we have World Cup, where I'm not going to play any of these games today. But we do have some interesting games. In the afternoon, we have 2 games in the afternoon. Norway and France is going to be, I think, one of the best matchups of the day. These are all on Fox Sports 1, Telemundo, Universo, and Fox 1. You'll find the games. This is in Gillette in Foxborough. Maybe Norway has a little bit of an advantage there because they've played in this stadium once already. France has not. Both teams are coming in from a different location, though. France, I think, is coming in from I want to say Philadelphia, and Norway's coming in from East Rutherford, New Jersey, but obviously they're staying in the Northeast, not a big deal. Norway, though, they're used to this stadium at the very least. I think both teams are going to be motivated here, though. These two teams have been the best two teams in this group, where I wasn't sure because Senegal is pretty good, but these two teams both have all the points in this group. France and Norway, they both have 2 wins, and nobody else has any points in the group. France is the better team. France has been my pick to win this whole thing. This won't be an easy matchup for them, though. Both teams are probably going to try to win, but maybe not, though, because here's the thing. Both teams are already guaranteed to advance, right? Like, they're both 1 and 2. It's just a matter of which team's going to be number 1, which team's going to be number 2. You know what I mean? So does that mean that these teams are okay with a draw here? It might, because these teams might just say, hey, let's have a gentlemanly match here. We're both going to advance to the knockout. We don't really care if we're number 1 or number 2 here. So I think the draw is a little bit more likely in this match than in some other matches, though it's still going to be unlikely that it's like a +2, probably a +200 something line on the draw here. But it is possible these teams play to a draw here because they're both going to advance. They both already locked that up. Maybe these teams still do want to play well against each other, though, because these teams might still want to test themselves, be competitive. They still might want to get number one in the group just to do it. In Group I, France is the better team at minus 155. I don't know, man. I mean, I don't think I would want to play it that way, though. I think maybe an over might be a way to look here. The total is high, though, at 3.5, but it is high for a reason. You got two really good offenses here. I mean, Norway with Haaland, he's one of the best scorers in all of soccer, like in the entire world. He's really good. And France has Mbappe. And these teams are also pretty deep, like offensively. These teams both can score a lot. So, especially if it's more of kind of a gentlemanly game and it turns into a little bit more of a scrimmage, I think you will see some goals here. So maybe an over could be worth a look there. I would not want to try to figure out the side, though. France is the somewhat better team, though. And I think France, may be the best team in the entire nation, but we'll see. Senegal is playing Iraq. Senegal is a huge favorite, minus 425. This is in Toronto. Senegal, these teams are both traveling. Senegal is coming in from, they just played against Norway, I think. Norway beat them. Senegal was competitive, though, dude. Senegal was competitive against Norway and France. It's just that those are two good teams. So Senegal, they need a win here, dude. They need to get 3 points. Like, if they're going to have any shot, they're in trouble of possibly not advancing here. But if they win, they're going to be above Scotland. So Scotland really needs Senegal to not win here, I'm pretty sure. But that is not going to happen. Senegal is going to win, I'm pretty sure. And they're going to get their 3 points, and they're going to have a positive goal differential, and that'll put them above Scotland. So Scotland, they might be out, dude. Scotland needed Ecuador to draw yesterday, and they didn't. Like, I was rooting for the draw because I still would have won with Ecuador. Ecuador had to get that late goal or whatever, that other goal, and win, So, unfortunately, I think Scotland is looking more and more likely that they're going to be eliminated. Senegal is going to win. Iraq is bad. This game is in Toronto. Iraq is coming up from losing to France. They played in Philadelphia, and Senegal's coming up from whatever that was, New York, the New York area. Yeah, I think Senegal wins. I don't have a whole lot else to say about that. The total's high. I think this is the type of game where maybe it's a Senegal over their team total type of situation, because they're going to need to score at least some goals here, because the goal differential might wind up mattering with all the ties that might happen for the third place teams. So Senegal has some reason to try to score goals here. So they might very well do that. This next group here, Cape Verde and Saudi Arabia, this is ridiculous. On Fox Sports 1, this game is in Houston. I think one of these teams might be coming up from playing in Mexico. Is that right? Maybe that's not right. Saudi Arabia is coming off getting blown out by España, Spain. We had a win in that game with the Spain team total over, although, yes, we got helped by an own goal there, but whatever. This game was in, where was this game? Why doesn't it tell me? Come on, man. I just want to know where the game was. Maybe I have to go to the recap. Yeah, this game was in Atlanta, Georgia. That's right. I forgot about that. So Saudi Arabia is going to Houston from Atlanta, and I think Cape Verde, where were they at? They might have been in Mexico, dude. No, they were in Miami. I don't know why I'm thinking that. But Cape Verde is coming off of two ridiculous draws. Like, this Cape Verde team is not actually that good, dude. And they're coming off of draws as huge underdogs against Spain and Uruguay. I don't like this for Cape Verde, man, even though they're going to try to get third place here. Like, they do have a chance to win, and if Cape Verde wins, they're going to advance, because if they win here, they're going to have 5 points. So they're going to advance, and it's going to fuck Scotland even more. So, yeah, Cape Verde, they're the better team in this matchup at plus 165. But to me, I think they've looked too good, dude. They're kind of like the hype team right now because they've pulled off these draws, but I talked about how Spain dominated them in that game, you know what I mean? Like, that was a bullshit draw. It was very misleading. Uruguay did kind of dominate their game too against Cape Verde. If you look at what happened in this match, Uruguay expected goals 2.32 to 0.89. They won the possession battle easily. They just didn't get a lot of shots on goal. I mean, Uruguay, not the greatest offensive team here. But, yeah, I think it was kind of misleading. So Cape Verde could be in a letdown spot, dude. They've overperformed in the World Cup here with these 2 draws as a big underdog. So I kind of like Saudi Arabia here. You're getting like almost the same price on the money line, but I think, I don't know what you would want to do here, man. Like, you're going to have to pay a price. That's my issue with it. Like, if you want to go Saudi Arabia plus the half goal, or if you want to go Saudi Arabia win draw, you're looking at like a minus 200 price, or maybe minus 180 price or something like that. So even though I like Saudi Arabia kind of here, you know what you could do, though? I'm thinking about this. What does the draw no bet look like for Saudi Arabia here? Let me see. I'm not going to add this as a play or anything, I don't think, but I know this show's going to go long again. But let me see what does the draw no bet look like? That's something I haven't really talked about too much, but that basically means that a draw is going to push rather than give you a win. So that means the price is going to be somewhere in the middle of those two. Let me look. People don't usually go to that market, but let me look. Draw no bet. Yeah, that's the best way to play this. Draw no bet, Saudi Arabia, minus 110. That would be what I would do in this game. So that means if they win, you're going to win your bet. But it's less risky, because if they draw, you're just going to get your money back. So I think that's what I would do. I would take Saudi Arabia, draw no bet. That's the way I would play that game. And you get it right at that minus 110, so it's right in that price wheelhouse that I like. So I almost forgot about that market. But yeah, I think, it's just that Cape Verde has massively overperformed, dude. That's the thing. So that might be the way to play that. I'm not going to put that on my card, but I think that's what I would do in that one. Next game is Uruguay and Spain, and this game is in Mexico for some reason. So both teams are having to travel from the States to Mexico. Spain from Atlanta, Uruguay from Florida. This game, Spain is not favored by that much, dude. They're at minus 145, and that kind of tells you maybe Spain doesn't have the most motivation here. And if you look, well, Spain, they actually still haven't clinched number 1 in their group. They actually have not even clinched advancing, actually. So Spain does still need to at least get 1 point here to make sure that they advance, because Cape Verde could win today, and that would give them 5 points, and Uruguay could beat Spain theoretically and get 5 points. So if those two things happen, Spain is going to be a third-place team. They'll still advance, though, probably, because their goal differential. Oh, actually, they'll have 4 points, so they'll still advance. But Spain doesn't want that, I don't think. I don't think they want to fall into third place. They want to make sure they advance. So I think Spain does at least have some motivation here, although Uruguay certainly is the more motivated team here, because they could definitely get eliminated here. If they don't pick up a point here, they're done. Like, they're not going to advance with 2 points. You know what I mean? And Uruguay is a team that has a decent, soccer history. They don't want that to happen. Like, they should be advancing in this tournament here. So Uruguay needs to try to do something here. So they're going to be the more motivated team here. That's probably the way I would look here, Spain is definitely the better team, but the motivation, I think, does go to Uruguay a little bit here. Uruguay, whatever. Spain only minus 145. It looks way too easy to play Spain here, although, again, it's going to be one of those ones where the professional bettors are going to tell you, well, the line is lower because everybody knows Uruguay is in a must-win spot, you know what I mean? Or at least a must-draw. And if they draw, they might still get eliminated. So it's kind of a must-win for Uruguay here. And the odds makers will tell you you're paying for that. So they're going to tell you there's value on Spain here. But you know what I say, and it worked out for us yesterday, although one of those teams was not in a must-win, Turkey. It was just a kind of scrimmage-esque type of game. I thought Turkey was just going to be trying to avoid embarrassment, and they did. But this game, I would still lean to Uruguay here. I like the motivational edge. When you have an underdog that you know is going to be motivated, like, I agree with what the professional bettors are saying, but I think in a must-win, the teams that I want to avoid are the teams that are favored. You know what I mean? Because the pressure's really on them. The team that's the underdog, people don't expect them to win, so they can still get overlooked. And you're getting an underdog price on the more motivated team. So I would look at Uruguay here, plus the half goal, or win/draw, whatever gives you the best number on that. You're probably looking at like plus 125 or something like that there. That's what I would do in that one. Then we have the late games in the Pacific Coast here. Seattle has Egypt and Iran. And I don't know if you saw that Seattle is trolling these countries by making this a pride event. I don't know if you saw that, but of course, Egypt and Iran, heavily Muslim nations, they're in opposition to pride here. So I'm thinking this is hilarious from both perspectives because the right-wingers don't like Iran, they don't like the Muslims, but they also don't like Pride Night. So I'm like, well, which one are you gonna side with here? You know what I mean? Like, this exposes the hypocrisy on both sides in an awesome way. And then on the left, the left are all about, oh, we gotta, support, these other countries, these other religions, whatever, and but also support Pride Night. So I'm like, well, which one are you gonna choose here? You know what I mean? It's just so hilarious. It's just, I don't know, man. It's like idiocracy. I don't know what to say. Like, obviously, I don't think it's a good thing. I think this whole pride thing, I mean, it's just stupid. It's just trying to force it down everybody's throats. But in this particular case, it is a troll, and it is kind of hilarious. So it is ridiculous. But focusing on this game, Egypt is the better of these two teams, although not by much. They're plus 150. I believe Egypt is coming in from, I want to say they were in Vancouver, and Iran is coming in from California. So this is actually a bad spot for Iran, though, in a way, because Iran is, remember, I told you, Iran's not allowed in the country, and their fans are not allowed into the country, I don't think so. The U.S. is screwing over Iran just because of the war stuff that's going on, which is bullshit. And they're not doing that to Egypt, I don't think, because the U.S. already controls Egypt's government. So I don't think I'm allowed to say any of this, but that is the case. Iran is having to travel all the way up to Seattle here from Mexico because Iran is staying in Mexico, remember? So that is kind of bad for them. Egypt, I think, is coming in from Vancouver, so I think it is a better spot for Egypt here. And if we look at the standings here, let me look. Where are we looking here? Where's this group? Which group is this? This is Group G. Egypt is winning the group right now. This is unbelievable. Like, Belgium was the heavy favorite to win this group. Nobody else in this group is even that good. And Egypt is winning the group right now. Really, really insane stuff here. They have 4 points, so they're probably going to still advance here, but they might still be motivated here. To avoid falling into third place and to try to win the group. I'm not sure, but Iran has more to play for, though, because Iran is playing to avoid elimination here. Like, Iran is going to need to pick up at least a point here to avoid elimination here, and maybe more than that. They're going to need to win, probably. So I think Iran's going to be motivated here. And Belgium is right on their ass. Belgium is at 2 points, and I think there's no way that Belgium loses to New Zealand. Belgium, I know they've looked like ass in this World Cup so far. New Zealand is awful. I think they're the worst team in this group, so I'm already starting to talk about the last game of the day, Belgium. But Belgium is going to get 5 points. They're going to get up to 5 here. I would be shocked if Belgium didn't get the 3 points today. So these teams do have to worry about that, about Belgium coming up on their ass. So actually, it's theoretically possible that Egypt is eliminated, although I don't think they will be, because I think if Egypt does fall to third place here, they have enough points that they're still going to advance, I'm pretty sure, but they don't really want to be in that scenario, so they're still going to be motivated here, but, I don't know. Maybe a slight lean towards Iran for me here, but I really don't like the travel spot for Iran, so I don't like that. Iran is probably going to be, again, it's one of those spots where it would be Iran draw no bet would be the way that you would look. I think you'd get the price probably around the minus 110 or minus 120 on Iran there. And then Belgium against New Zealand. Belgium, I think they're staying in Vancouver, if I'm not mistaken here. Or no, I think New Zealand actually is. I think New Zealand is staying in Belgium. New Zealand just lost to, Egypt. New Zealand had a draw with Iran, but New Zealand has not faced anybody nearly as good as Belgium in this World Cup so far. New Zealand's going to be up against it here. I know Belgium has looked like absolute ass with 2 draws so far against Egypt and Iran, so both as favorites. Belgium is going to bounce back and have a better game here, man. You would have to imagine. I mean, they need to avoid elimination. They're going to need to score. The total's 3.5, which it is a lot of times in these lopsided matchups because the better team usually tends to score more goals in those matchups. So you know what I'm looking at here. I think Belgium over their team total is the right approach here. Belgium, I think, is traveling in from, I want to say they're coming in from California, though. But they are staying on the Pacific Coast, so travel doesn't really help them here. I do worry a little bit, though, that Belgium just hasn't looked good, though. Like, it's not one of those situations where those results were that misleading. You know what I mean? Like, Belgium's offense has really looked bad in those first 2 games. But because they've looked bad, and this is an easy matchup for them, and they need to win this, and they probably want to pad their goal differential here as well. Belgium over team total is what makes sense here. I think you're going to need, in these team totals that I liked here with, Senegal I kind of liked, but I think this one is the best one. It would be over 2.5, I think, with Belgium here. I think that's what I would do in that game. I kind of like that one, to be honest. Like, I think out of all the games today that I like the best, Saudi Arabia, draw no bet, I like, because I think Cape Verde is just way overhyped. But also Belgium has just looked too bad. They're not that bad. So I think Belgium, team total over also makes sense here. But I'm going to avoid them. I just don't feel strongly enough about those. There are some issues that I have with those. So I'm going to stay off of it. Long show today, but that's how I look at these. Gerald, what's up? That's all right. Thanks for hanging out, man. A group leaders parlay. I would not be parlaying, man. You're going to need Belgium to win and for Egypt to not win. It's definitely possible. I picked Belgium to win that group as well in my ESPN entry where you have to pick all the teams in order, and then you also pick which of the 8 third-place teams advance. So I had Belgium winning that group, obviously. And I think I had Egypt in second, which still could happen. So we'll see. I don't remember if I had Iran advancing or not, but whatever. 7 of 12. I'm not sure. I don't know what you're talking about. So you have a 12-leg parlay. I hope you didn't actually bet that unless it was some sort of like promotion or something where it's just like, I don't know, like you're just having fun with some gambling there. But anyway, that's going to do it. I got to get out of here. I got to eat lunch too and get my videos up. We have 3 plays today. Baseball, Astros and Tigers over the 8.5. We have under in the first half of A's and Angels, under 4.5. I kind of like that one with that pitching matchup. And then WNBA, we're playing on the Dream, the Atlanta Dream. We could dream that we can get that one right. Oh, and how did I not put my banner up? I think I had it up and I took it down. I apologize. That's going to do it, though. The banner's back up again. I appreciate it, everybody. Learn to Toad on Twitter. Learn to Toad on Instagram. Like and subscribe to the channel here, and you'll get notified when I go live. We got to get to 500, man. Come on, let's get more people watching this. We're still on a really nice run. We still had a good year, too, so come on, man. World Cup's been going well, though. I know I haven't given out any World Cup plays today. What else was I going to say? Covered in Uke on YouTube, my Uke channel. You can check that out. Listen to the show on audio. That helps me out as well. So the numbers are going up slightly on audio, so check that out. Patreon.com/LearnToToad if you want to support me there. I know I have to get back to the Uke stuff. I've been sick, and my voice just hasn't been right, so I don't know what I'm going to do about that. I'm getting better, though, so I think I'm going to be probably doing some soon. And then, and I do still want to do some Uke Hangout streams. I keep talking about that, but there are a lot of things I have on my mind that I haven't gotten to doing yet. And then, what else? Losercast every Tuesday night, although we were on Monday this week. You can go find that episode. Check it out. The New York Giants G-Spot podcast will return at some point, and I will be on Nephilim Death Squad this afternoon, so I got to get some lunch done, and then I think 2 p.m. I don't know if it's live, though, if they're just recording it, but NDS is having me back on today, so for those of you that like those guys, which I do as well, I always kind of throw a wrench into what they usually do, and it becomes more of like a Tower Gang-esque show because I can't really do anything else, so except for this. So go check that out too. Yeah, you're definitely a degenerate. Dude, I recommend against parlays. Like, it's a losing bet long term. So everything for me is straight bets. That's gonna do it. I appreciate everybody. Peace.
But don't you go quiet, don't you fade from the floor. Your name still means something to somebody for sure. Put the glass down, baby. Look at me now.